So you need to unmute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Let's start. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's start.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Indian Chamber of Commerce and Ministry of Art Science are jointly organizing an e-conference on the innovation for transforming the sustainable marine economy. The marine economy after COVID-19 is a very, very important area of great concern. So this conference is organized to have the way forward to be self-reliant India. In this program, let me start with the program and invite our respected Director General, Dr. Rajiv Singh, to give the welcome address. Dr. Singh.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan. Sir, we are really thankful to you for sparing your time to be with us. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to our other esteemed speakers, Dr. Ravi Shankar, Director of ICAR, CIFT, Dr. K.K. Vijayan, Director of Brackish Water Aquaculture, Dr. Noor Jahan Bibi, Managing Director of TAPCO Fed, Mr. K. Srinivas, Chairman of MPDA, Ministry of Commerce, Shri Ram Nagar from Calcutta Port Trust, and then we also joined by Dr. Purnima Jalihal, representing NIOT, Dr. Nelson Vedasari, C6 Energy, Dr. V.B. Mathur, Chairman of National Biodiversity Authority, Dr. Kajal Chakravarti from PMMSY, and Dr. Manish Shukla, representing Reliant Industries. The people in this forum are already converted. I don't need to highlight the importance of the marine space. India saw white revolution coming and changing the landscape of rural India. I think blue revolution also has the same potential to transform the coastal economy and really transform the lives of people living around the coastal economy. There are several initiatives which Government of India has taken, especially with the Department of Fisheries, Government of India, also by the Ministry of Earth Science. Ministry of Shipping also has a very important role to play here, and Sagarmala project is one initiative which is transforming the connectivity and improving the coastal areas. With this development, a lot of ancillary infrastructure and a lot of industries are also coming around that area, which is also helping the fishing community, also giving a boost to the tourism. So this effort is basically to look at the marine economy as a whole, and not to look at the whole thing in a fragmented manner, because that is what it needs. We have seen areas, we have seen parts, or let's say the building blocks of the marine economy being handled by various ministries. And that is where I think a unified approach, where various Government of India ministries and the state governments, including the private sector, can work together, look at the challenges which may belong to various departments, ministries, or even at the state level. A lot of capacity gaps which may exist, So this is an effort from ICC to look at the sector as a whole and to look at the innovation and the technology, because technology is really going to be the key driver going ahead. And if we are able to bring the technology, share it with all the stakeholders, I think we are truly going to transform this space. We have some very eminent experts with us, including our who has a very business-like approach towards the sector, and we can expect good times for the marine space. With these words, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the guests once again. Thank you so much.
Sir, please invite Dr. Rajiv Ranjan.
It's my pleasure now to request our chief guest, Dr. Ravi Ranjan, to please address us.
Thank you,
Dr. Ranjan.
Sir, can you share the slides from your end?
No, I think you have to run it because we have sent it to you. Can you? You'll
Yes,
have to.
Yeah, Devabrata, can you run the slide?
Yes, sir. I'm just checking. Just a minute.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Sir, I have talked with Polichai. He already just told me that PPT is not with me because that's PPT to sir. Wait.
Tapan, you can unmute.
Are you? Have you got the slides? Are you sharing the slides?
We will share the slides, sir. We have just received it. We will just download and then.
Okay. So while this is going on, let me start. Let me thank the ICC for taking the initiative for having this webinar. It's a very very topical subject on which we are speaking today. The conference on innovation.
রাজীব রঞ্জনের যে পিপিটিটা পাঠিয়েছি তোমাকে তুমি ওখান থেকে চালিয়ে দাও তো
Tapan, can you unmute? Tapan, can you mute yourself? Yes, sir. Please carry on.
Okay, so we are waiting for. So fine. The topic was on innovation for transforming the sustainable marine economy, way forward to self-reliant India. So when I got the invitation, I was not clear as to who all will be there. So then I was waiting for the final list to emerge. And now that we have that, final day has come. So looking at the list and looking at the subjects, I thought I will, being the first speaker, I will give you some broad ideas and also tell you what we are doing in the fisheries department. So to begin with, we need to understand what is this blue economy, what is the sustainable marine economy that we are talking about, what are the innovations, and what is the way forward for self-reliant India. Now, we all know the concept of blue economy. The blue economy is a very important concept which was first introduced in 1994 by Professor Gunter Pauli of the UN University. Now, with the third Earth Summit in Rio in 2012, the sustainability concepts became very important. So UN Sustainable Development Goals are there, and we all know SDG 14 is there, which seeks to conserve and sustain the use of oceans, seas, and marine resources. Now, many states, they have been, doing their own definition. They are very evolved. Many of the developed countries have gone much, much further in terms of working on this concept of blue economy and how the whole economic growth is structured towards it. So then next slide, please. So while we go to the next slide, yeah, this is on the, I think there is some problem in, there is some disfigurement in the slides, it appears.
Please make it full screen. Seema or Debu, please make it full screen, slideshow.
Yes, sir. Seema is running the slides. I am giving yes.
Just put it on slideshow.
Go to the first one. The second one, which talks about sustainability. So I was mentioning why sustainability is important because of the SDG 14 goals. And there we talked about the concept of, how the blue economy and how blue economy refers to exploring and optimizing the potential of the oceans and seas, which are under India's legal jurisdiction for socio-economic development while preserving the health of the oceans. So as a subset of the economy, the blue economy, and within that, the marine economy is what we are discussing. So basically, when we look at sustainability, we know FAO has a concept of fisheries sustainability objectives, and there are three basically pillars: optimizing, regulating, and minimizing. Optimizing welfare from a limited natural resource base, and we need to understand the large number of fishermen whose livelihoods are intertwined with that. We have close to 4 million plus people, 45, 48 lakhs, whatever numbers we take. So that's a very large number of people who are dependent on the oceans and for their livelihood. So we need to talk about sustainable fisheries development that meets the present generation needs without compromising the ability of future generations. That is what is sustainability. So we need to think of diversification of fisheries livelihood, which we are trying to do, because capture fisheries has its own issues. There is a risk attached. There are dwindling catches coming up. So how can we look at diversification? So mariculture, we are now looking at, let's say, open sea cages. How can we get more production from them? Integrated fisheries development plan, then complete utilization of resources post-harvest reduction losses, which are very high now. So these are various initiatives of optimization. We also need to do a lot of regulation in terms of the large number of, today we have more than 3 lakh registered vessels going to the sea. And there is an issue of overfishing at some time. There is unregulated IU fishing being reported sometimes. So more crop per drop per aquaculture, responsible fishing practices, effective policy regulatory framework, which we are trying to bring in with a new legislation in marine, regulation and development, and minimizing the resource and environmental degradation. So for that, environmental friendly fishing and aquaculture practices is what we are talking about. Next, please. This is again the Blue Growth Initiative I had talked about and Blue Economy concept. I will not spend too much time. This is the larger idea under which all of it, what we are discussing, will fit in. And the FAO has come up with this model. There are basically 3 phases: enabling condition, implementing targeted intervention, and mainstreaming of that. And 3 pillars: the blue production, which is basically implementing ecosystem-based approaches to responsible fisheries and aquaculture management in order to enhance sustainability and productivity. That's very important when we talk about a sustainable thing. And similarly, blue trade. We know that there's a lot of trade which happens in fisheries, especially is one of the most traded commodity to the fisheries thing. And we have a target of 1 lakh crores of exports. So that makes it a very big number. And we have Chairman Mapeda also coming in and taking the next session, where he will be discussing in great length as to what is being done. Then blue communities are the empowering how to take advantage of fisheries and aquaculture to enhance food security and nutrition. This is again very important because fish is the most affordable and complete nutritious, animal protein based kind of a thing which we can make available to even malnourished children. And there's a whole, how we can take advantage of fish as an affordable source of protein. So this is how it'll come in. So these are the various broad framework in which we are discussing today. Coming to the next slide, I'll come back to what the Indian Fisheries Department and what we are doing. It is a fisheries, as all of you know, is a sunrise sector. It is one sector in the agriculture and lights sector which is the fastest growing. We've been growing close to 10 to 11% in the last 5 years, and the average annual growth rate of fish production has been in the range of 7 to 8%, and exports has been growing 9 to 10%. So this is one sector which has done very well. It is also one of the most profitable sectors, and that is why we feel it is a sector where we'll get much higher growth rates because of huge investments which the government is now doing. And if you look at our share in the global share of fish production, India is the second largest aquaculture producer, fourth largest seafood exporter. It is the largest exporter of shrimp, and 7.73% of global share is what we account for. And if you look at it, recognizing all that, now we have a separate independent Department of Fisheries and a new ministry which came from June 2019. And I had already mentioned that we have a huge target for exports, and the contribution of fisheries to the national GVA is 1.24%, and contribution to agriculture gross value added is 7.28%. Next slide, please. Now I'll come back very quickly on what are the resources that we have. We look at basically in two broad buckets: the inland fisheries and aquaculture resources and the marine fisheries resources. We will today concentrate on the marine fisheries resources. But let me quickly add that we have a huge, long way to go as far as inland fisheries aquaculture resources, and a lot of work is being done. But for today's, e-webinar, we are looking at marine fisheries, where we are harnessing close to 70% of our potential, and 50% of marine production comes from these 5 states of Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, and Andhra Pradesh. So we have a large coastline of 8,000 kilometer plus, a 2 million square kilometer plus of EEZ, a huge continental shelf. We have 1,547 fishing harbors and landing centers, and 3,477 coastal fishing villages. And now we are going to have a Sagar Mitra in each of them. Next slide, please. So the next slide shows you what the government has been doing in central government level. We have had the scheme of Blue Revolution. We have invested close to 3,000 crores in the last 5 years. In the present one, we have now FIDF scheme, which is the Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund, which is 7,522 crore fund for concessional finance for fisheries and aquaculture infrastructure. And the current, right now, the flagship scheme of the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, which is 20,050 crore investment for sustainable and responsible harnessing of fisheries potential, strengthening and modernizing the value chain, along with a robust regulatory framework. So these are the broad 3 schemes that we have, under which I'll quickly cover. Next slide, please. The objectives are broadly, again, in tune in what we are discussing: sustainable, responsible, inclusive, and equitable way, harnessing the fisheries potential. And we want to increase production and productivity, strengthen the value chain. We want to do it with respect to doubling the fishers' income and increasing our share in the GDP and exports. So next slide, please. There are key strategies which we will not get into too much, because some of you who are involved with this, the speakers after me would cover a little bit on Dr. Ravi Shankar would be talking about value addition, how we can do all that. Dr. Vijayan would be mentioning about how brackish water aquaculture can be a driver of blue economy. So I will quickly run into the broader areas. Next slide, please. The anticipated outcomes of PMSY. See, we need to make our, we are close to 141 lakh, 142 lakh tons presently, and we are making a target go to 220 lakh tons. But the challenge is to do it sustainably. And that is one thing which we would, talk about. And as I said, the productivity has to improve. We are looking at 55 lakh employment generation, new additional direct employment generation, which is a very large number for one sector to contribute, which is small presently. But it is potential in terms of generation of employment is large. And we are looking at per capita domestic fish consumption to also double, almost double from the present very low levels. If you look at world averages, we are just 1/4 of the world average. So this is something, again, we need to do. There are areas in the country where the the fish consumption is very high. 95% of the population consumes fish. But in certain areas, it is lesser. So we are looking at how across the country we can increase fish consumption, because that will give a bigger market. It will give that's the basic idea. Next, please. So I will now broadly cover very quickly 3 broad areas in which I will, talk about sustainability. So sustainable approaches to Indian fisheries marine sector. Next, please. I think there's been some problem with the slide, how it is. So what we will do is very quickly initiatives by GOI in terms of we adopted the FAO CCRF, which is the approach of doing it in a sustainable way and responsible way. And we are also looking at National Policy of Marine Fisheries 2017. And now we are looking at National Fisheries Policy, which is looking at all the elements, sub-components of the fisheries, whether inland or all the other parts of it. Then collaborative approaches, we have been doing FIMSHUL project with FAO, we have been doing World Bank funded integrated coastal zone management projects. Next, please. If you look at the vision of these, we are looking at least to begin with, in the first phase, we'll take up 100 coastal villages under the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, where to do a full integrated way there, improving the quality of life in coastal communities, diversification of the economy through sustainable and livelihood opportunities. And this we want to do in many, many ways. I'll not share with details. We have a 750 crore program for this. Next, please. Here we are looking at 1 lakh livelihood, then multi-sectoral convergence. This is very important because we need to look at all the other departments, all the other agencies which are working. This is where we can look at ICR institutes, we can look at SIFT because Director SIFT is here and he can see how we can improve the huge losses that we have today. The post-harvest losses are 25-30% in some cases. We need to reduce it to 10%. This is one of the broad objectives. And there are large number of investments, and I'm sure he'll be talking about the various technologies that ICR has, SIFT has, our institute NIFAT has. But the idea is to how to take it to the field level, how to see that the industry adopts it, and that's where ICC comes in. ICC should help in trying to see that there's a connect between the academic institutions, between the government, between the private sector, between the industry body, so that we can, take this to the field. And similarly, like ecotourism and recreation, marketing infrastructure, plastic-free village concept, research and development, all these things are being done. Multi-sectoral convergence is what we are talking about. Next, please. We can look at one of the specific areas, the marine cage cultivation, because we feel that by doing that, I think the slide is not okay. I'll keep talking till hopefully it comes. The marine cage cultivation is a concept which is by doing that we are trying to shift a large number of marine fishermen to mariculture, because this is a much more scientifically we can increase productivity, we can do it with much less risk and better quality of fish. And we can look at 2 lakh ton fish production per year out of this. And the private sector can do quite a large in this again. And we are looking at 636 crores of investments and employment generation opportunity of almost 4 lakhs. We're going to do it in a clustership model, cluster based, where we can we can, target areas which are where we can do it easily. This is where the states have to have a good leasing policy in territorial waters, and then many species like groupers, pompano, cobia, sea bass can come in for that. We have an entrepreneurship model under which this can be taken, but it's also required that we have a good cold chain so that whatever we can do can be preservation of value is there and we can make it available to the consumers. The next slide was about the seaweed cultivation and processing. This is again an area which we have neglected. I think the slide is not coming in, so I'll just cover the. Okay, so you can run to the seaweed cultivation.
Sir, which sir? Can you kindly sir provide me the number, sir? Because our system is down, so I am running, sir. I got this right now.
Okay, now before this, go before.
Before, okay, sir.
Go before. One before one. Go further. Go till you come to the seaweed. Go further. Go further up. Seaweed. Yeah. Go further up. Yeah, that's it. So
Okay, sir.
Okay, go to the. I had already covered marine sea cultivation. I mentioned about that this is one very good area where we can reduce risk for capture fishermen going to the sea. And because of dwindling catches, we can get mariculture into place. This is something where lot of entrepreneurs can come in. Lot of interest is already there. Some states is happening. So we need to now work on it. And this is one very good thing which I like to mention to all stakeholders, all present, to popularize it. Next, please. Next one is what we are talking about, the seaweed. This again, India has not taken it up in a big way, but we have a huge potential. And we are looking at investment of 640 crores. We are actually today importing a lot of seaweed extracts and a variety of things which we can, in the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, we can take advantage of import substitution and use all this. And there's a huge market out there. In fact, there's a huge potential. The global market is about 12 billion US dollars, and we are nowhere in the picture. So this is something which we can do, and it is something which we can, India's tropical waters, we can easily do it. It's happening some small places right now. In Tamil Nadu has taken the lead. In Gujarat, there is some little work, but a lot of it can be done. It has huge the usage of seaweed in pharmaceuticals, in variety of things is well established. I will not go into that. So this is one big area. And then we go to the next broad area. Next slide, please. We are talking about Indian aquaculture. Now, sustainable approaches. And in that, if you see, there are a large number of areas that we are going to cover. Next slide, please. We look at fresh saline, brackish water. This again, brackish water, Dr. Vijayan will be covering in great detail. I will not get too much into it, but I just mentioned that there are various things under the PMMSY that we are going to discuss. Basically, we need to increase our production productivity hugely, and that's why we need to do large investments in various sectors. And this is what basically huge opportunities are there, and PMMSY is there structured to see that we take advantage of that. Next slide, please. The entrepreneurship model, the PPP models, these are very, very useful models which people can take advantage of. And I would request the entrepreneurs or the ICC should popularize and ensure that many of the members who are interested can come forward. New technology-driven technology, RAS, Bioflog. We are looking at traceability certification, where I will not go into too much of details. We are just mentioning that we have huge number of interventions to ensure, and post-harvest loss reduction is again a very important thing which Dr. Ravi Shankar would be going into great detail. We are supposed to be looking at promotion of domestic consumption, something like how the egg promotion was done. We have to do it for fish and strengthen our extension services. Women empowerment is important for seaweed cultivation, which we should look at it. Next slide, please. Brood and seed is an important area where we need to look at, and species diversification is again important. So as I said, we are working with ICR Fisheries Institutes and MAPEDA and to take this forward, because then only we can do 70 lakh tons of extra fish production. Next slide is the wasteland to wetland. This is again important, how we are able to use the fallow lands, how to make it available, how we can use shrimp farming in this saline and alkaline soil. And there SIFI Rohtak is doing good work. There's a silent aqua revolution going on. There's a huge demand now for people to take up this because very, very profitable. The other day I came across an entrepreneur who had done huge harvesting of shrimp near Gurgaon. So it is possible there are new areas, otherwise it was mostly in the coastal regions that we had shrimp farming. So this is going up, and wherever the soil condition is bad for normal crop husbandry, we can take this up. There are issues of what aqua farmers need in terms of seed, in terms of feed inputs, farm management. This is again an area where large number of entrepreneurs can come in to help them, and looking at disease management. So these are all areas where convergence is possible with other ministries like agriculture, railways, road transport, rural aid. So all that is happening. Next slide is talking about the technology infusion, more crop per drop. This again is an important area because we need to increase high productivity. You see, that's important if you have to compete. And that is what we can look at IMTA. We can look at integrated multi-tropic aquaculture. We can look at high density pond aquaculture, aquaponics, bioflog. Like that, variety of areas are there, and this is being done. But we need to, there are huge advantages of that in terms of disease-free, all seasons, high production, higher price realization, higher profits. It can be done with very little area under. So all this is possible, and this is we are trying to popularize. Now I'll come to the last pillar in what we should talk about sustainable, which is, next slide please, the sustainable approaches in seafood value chain. That is something which again will be covered somewhat in more detail by Dr. Ravi Shankar. So I will just go broadly. That requires more focused attention and technological and financial support at each nodes, because the value chain is large, and because we are exporting quite a lot of it, we need to have a certain quality orientation. We need to work in terms of how traceability, all these issues are there. So unlike the value chains of agriculture commodities like grains, tree crops, or vegetables, we have multiple players. It's unique and fragile. Its complexity in handling is much more, and it's very, very perishable commodity, fish, which is why we need to have unique interventions in marketing, distribution, in processing, in post-harvest. All this we need to look at. Next, please. If you look at the Indian marine product export trends, so you see we have done quite well in the last 10 years, and but we need to double that from 7 billion to almost 15 billion. That is where the great challenge is. For that, we need to diversify our export basket, destinations, we have to reach many, and boost high value and value added. And that is where there's a big challenge. Today, value addition is not happening much. We are in single digits as far as value addition is concerned. But we can learn from our neighbors, we can learn from, how they have done it, like Thailand, Vietnam. They are going into 30-40% value addition. So if we do all that, we can easily, give much more value to our farmers. And this is where technology, and this is where all of us working together will help. Similarly, diversification in aquaculture species, pursuing market access. There are barriers to trade, all of us know, which we need to tackle. There are issues of sanitary and phytosanitary issues, which we need to handle. So basically, this is a big thing, and frozen shrimp exports form 42% share in quantity and 69% in value. But we need to get out of only shrimp and do other species also. Then only we can reach the target of 15 billion. Next, please. So as I said, to sum up, we need to work at all levels at value addition, value realization, and value creation. So at all this, at value addition, we obviously have to reduce wastage, improve production processes, supply chain, and marketing. In value realization is to reduce quantitative and qualitative losses. Value creation is through certification, traceability, and blockchain, which we are doing. And even this morning, we spent a lot of time in discussing this with NFDB. And in fact, tomorrow, I wanted to also tell you that tomorrow is the World Fisheries Day, which we are celebrating. In the times of COVID, we have to curtail it. And we are going to, look at, what are the, I will not, describe that in too much detail now. I wish people join there tomorrow and see. But the point we are making is that traceability, blockchain, these are all very important requirements of the industry if we have to compete. And we have to look at innovation, startup incubators, and look at infrastructure creation, entire value chain that we have. Then only we can look at sustainable opportunities in fisheries value chain. And next slide, please. As I was mentioning, the priority is there to look at traceability certification and elimination of IU fishing, traceability, catch to consumer, geotagging, catch certification. Sustainability is important, minimal impact on environment, responsible sourcing, TED, marine mammal production is there. America has a requirement, quality, food safety, residues, antibiotics issues in there. So all these become very important, and global best practices we have to be emulated. Then only quality and hygiene standards, sustainability, accountability will come, and then only economic prosperity will come from there. So we are looking at 100% compulsory accreditation of hatcheries within the next 1 year. We're looking at resource convergence using IT tools, international certification. We are looking at how we can get a certification and a logo, MOPEDA and NFDB, incentivize farmers for traceability, integrated into good aquaculture practices. These are all things that we are planning and we are already doing in some way. Next slide, please. Now, in terms of how we double, so we are working with MOPEDA, the Department of Commerce, and what we are doing is in the blue, what Department of Fisheries is doing. The yellow part is what MOPEDA and Commerce is doing. They need to have more aggressive branding and promotion. We are looking at the production side in great detail and trying to see that how we can improve not only production and productivity, but also traceability certification, more of technology infusion to improve productivity. So basically, hygienic handling of fish from modern fishing harbors to landing center, right up to the value chain, right up to where it gets to the consumer is what our focus is. Then only we can improve not only the export, but also our markets. Next, please. So I think the 4 species that we talked about earlier, we need to look at that: Tilapia, Pangasius, sea bass, and mud crab. This we are concentrating. We have short-term and long-term. I will not get into too much of these issues as time is up. So just to say that next slide, these are the what we are looking at in terms of numbers and targets. Ornamental fisheries, another area. Then value addition, I keep repeating. We look at new species, oyster farming, pearl culture, mud crab, lobster, variety. Some things have been done, but we need to do much more of it. Next slide, please. I'll just say that we are looking at, this is again what we are trying to do in terms of investment tied up by the Department of Fisheries. What are the area expansion? What are we doing? How we are trying to go ahead, exploring new markets, deepening existing markets, international brand promotion to MOPEDA. Next, please. So this is the last slide. I'll just end up by saying the fishery sector, the government is investing close to $9 billion in the next 5 years. This is how we are, the center and the state put together. The center is working to the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampadana. We have the FIDF, we have World Bank scheme. Now recently ADB is also coming forward, and the state side, they have their own schemes. And that is how we past and shows that substantial private sector contribution has been there in fisheries. Shrimp sector is the shining example of synergy and facilitative public policy and private sector investment. So with these words, we are quite confident that we will be in fisheries and aquaculture sector and seafood sector. We will have a sustainable approach, and we can look at the marine economy, ways to contribute, transform it on a higher level, and this will be part of our self-reliant India, because the PMMSY is under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and as I mentioned, we are doing in the last 4 or 5 months, we have done a lot of strides. I will not go into those issues because of the time shortage. Let me thank all of you, particularly the ICC, for calling me for this. And I would like to end by saying that I would like to remind you that tomorrow is the World Fisheries Day, which we celebrate in a big way, because you can looking at how sustainability is there, how it is a world resource, and it is a sustainability of the marine economy which counts when we look at it. So tomorrow function, you need not be physically available. You can join us through the social media, to the Twitter, to the Facebook, and tomorrow at 11 o'clock we will have a physical program in the ICR Pusa Institute campus, but with limited presence because of the COVID, and but it will be live telecast and streaming. So let me uh, just tell you that we have done a lot of efforts, and we are engaging with large number of stakeholders. And for tomorrow, the World Fisheries Day, we are celebrating our achievements in terms of which states, which districts, which entrepreneurs who have done well. We are giving them rewards, and we are trying to make those as a good examples for others to follow. Because fisheries being very fragmented and diversified, we need to do lot of these activities, and that's why I'm happy to be part of this. And Indian Chamber of Commerce has been doing good work. They have done some earlier programs I had done with them on the seaweed and all that, which are otherwise neglected areas. So it's very heartening that they're taking interest, and that's why I thought that let me again compliment them for this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think always it's a pleasure to listen to you. You come with a very, very professional and a business-like approach. And we would also like to, on behalf of ICC, compliment for putting up an excellent plan with very ambitious targets. But I think to back the ambitious targets, you also have a very concrete plan. And ICC is really honored to be a partner. And on the fishery space also, we have done some work in West Bengal and Odisha and some other eastern states. And especially with the 100 village project, ICC would be happy to work closely with you and bringing the private sector into it and branding and attracting investments and all. ICC will be happy. So thank you. Thank you once again. I think we have Dr. Ravi Shankar with us. May I request Dr. Ravi Shankar CN, Director of ICAR CIFT, to please address us. Kindly unmute.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, most respected Secretary Sahab, Dr. Rajiv Ranjan Sahab, I see Chairman Empada, my friend Dr. Vijayan, and all the Director Sri Rajiv Singh, and all other officials of the CII. First of all, let me thank you for giving this opportunity to be part of this great initiative. And it was really very nice to listen to the talk by Secretary Sahab. It was a very, very comprehensive. He covered a lot of areas. Especially, he highlighted things like sustainable fisheries, responsible fisheries, reducing the post-harvest losses, adding value, increasing our value addition, and also so many of the areas which CAFT has been doing. Let me share my slides, please. Okay.
Yes, sir. Just a minute, sir. I'm making use of presenter, sir. Just a minute.
Yeah, please. I have already sent my presentation. Kindly share. Yeah.
Oh, sir, I will run, or you, sir, from your end, you will run, sir.
Okay.
So, what you told, I have no problem, sir. Please tell me, then I will run.
Yeah, please kindly share from your side. It's easier.
Okay, yeah. Sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Just a minute, sir.
वो कल डाला था, सुनो सुनो, कल तो तुम लोग आए ही नहीं। कल जो डाला था वो जो मैसेज जो तुमने दिया था, हम लोगों ने कुछ करके डाल दिया था ना ट्विटर।
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is perfect. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Taking off from where Secretary Saab left, first of all, in advance, I would like to greet everybody on the World Fisheries Day, which is going to be celebrated tomorrow. Many areas Secretary Saab raised actually on the blue economy, especially the challenges. So I'll try to highlight some of the challenges and also what are the prospects which we have. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'll not go into this because already Dr. Rajiv Ranjan Saab, highlighted all the, what is the resources we have, what is our production, exports, and all that. Kindly move to the next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, basically we are looking at what are the challenges. I think again, Secretary Saab mentioned about the dwindling of catches, reducing the CPUE, and a lot of, issues regarding increasing of the non-target species and the bycatch, and unregulated increase in the boat size, the engine power, and increasing the fuel consumption for locating fish, and lack of sustainability approaches in harvesting these resources. Yeah, next, please. That was in the harvest sector. And if you are coming to the post-harvest sector, yeah, again, he highlighted about the IUU fishing, which is, enormous. It's a great, concern. And juvenile fishing is another area which we need to address now. And the CIFT has been working in this area and already one of the states like Kerala has come forward. They have put a law into the force. So where they can reduce the juvenile fishing. Of course, as long as the fish, the fish meal industry is depending on this. So that is again a vicious circle. So I think somewhere we have to be very serious about reducing this juvenile catches. And we have the technology. Only now, as Secretary Saab was telling, the policies are in place. I think the states have to come forward to implement all this. Then only we can make it our fisheries, more sustainable, and we can conserve our resources. Next slide, please. And coming to the post-harvest sector, again, we are talking of underutilization of the processing capacity and sustainability and environmental friendly issues. Secretary Saab spoke about the certification program and very low level of value addition, which we have been talking for many years, that we need to diversify the product range. We have the technology, but I think with the new Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana in place, a lot of schemes which are very encouraging and really very heartening to see. A lot of things have been taken care in the new scheme which has been proposed by the Department of Fisheries. And also we need to improve, adapt new preservation technologies and utilization of the rest raw materials. I think Secretary Saab again highlighted about it because, the complete utilization of the catch. Because according to us, the value which we are going to realize from the rest raw material, the products of pharma importance, nutraceutical importance, the industrial importance, they are going to realize more than what we are going to get for the actual fish meat as such. So I think that's where we need to concentrate more. That's how we can reduce the post-harvest losses and have complete utilization of the catches. And again, meeting the prevailing quality and safety issues, because fish, when we are advocating, Secretary Saab spoke at length about the improving the consumption of fish, which is not very encouraging at present. So for that, we need to build confidence among the consumers, because there have been a lot of issues regarding the contaminants, adulterants in fish. So we have to give a quality and safe fish to the consumers. Yeah, next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So when I'm talking about the, analyzing the SWOT, of the Indian seafood sector, if you are talking of the strength, we have a lot of resource abundance. We have increased commodity diversification and improved geographical concentration, and we have a strong institutional support and linkages. We have the department, we have the state fisheries departments, we have a lot of federation, cooperatives, and we have major ICR institutes which are doing research and developing technology. And when you are talking of the weaknesses in the sector, you see the high cost of production, low capacity utilization, and deficiency in the value chain constituents. And also constraints in value addition. Maybe when you're talking of constraints, we don't have, the investment in the proper technology, the machinery. We need to develop low-cost machinery for adding more value. Because right now, the value addition, we have to depend on imported machinery, which is very expensive. not affordable. And if you're talking of opportunities, emergence of candidate species, my friend Dr. Vijan will talk about more about it. And also we need to improve the domestic market. There's a huge potential on that, and changing economical order and eco-labeling and certification. Again, secretaries have highlighted about it. And what are the threats? Unsustainable fishing practices. I think that we need to address a lot. And also whatever technological constraints are there, that we need to refine the technology. We need to develop an appropriate technology for this. And also we have to address, I think the chairman emphasized there, Srinivas will be talking about it. And also information system, the poor market information system is another area which we need to improve. The next slide, please. I think there's a lag. Okay. So what is the vision for blue economy? So adopting the responsible fishing practices and integration of eco-labeling principles, export of emerging and focus markets, and we need to find new markets, diversify product, diversify the product, and also increasing our value of the share into value-added products so that we have a better realization. I think again, Secretary Sabha was telling even smaller countries are doing much better. I think we need to learn from them. So that's where we need to increase our share. And also the trade agreements and co-branding with leading retail chain companies for sourcing and facilitating entry in newer markets, diversification of exportable aquaculture species. I think again, these species, Secretary, I think a lot of overlap with what the secretaries have presented already. So I was also thinking I will also address in the similar way what are the issues and what are the technologies available, and capacity utilization and modernization of the QC infrastructure. Again, he spoke about improving our markets, improving our landing centers, wherein handling, transportation, improving the cold chain. I'm happy that all these are being addressed by the new scheme of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, and reduction in harvest and post-harvest losses. I think one thing I would like to highlight to Secretary Saab that even now we don't have a clear scientific study, and we are not sure how much is the post-harvest loss and where it is happening. I think we need to take up a study, sir. CIFT has already given a proposal to NFDB. If you can take that further, at least we will know where are the losses happening so that we can address there how to reduce this. And again, capacity building at all the stakeholders in order to make it competitive. Next. So the blueprint for making it, the competitive of the fisheries sector, sustainable management of marine resources, sustainable growth in the aquaculture sector, improved market access, development of a biomarine industry. I think again the Department of Fisheries is taking a lot of initiatives in bringing in seaweed and so many other areas. So, and also scaling up of allocations for research and higher education, because we should not neglect that. We should be investing more in research and technology development. So that's how we will be able to realize whatever the goal of Blue Revolution. Next, please. I think there is a slight lag in the change. Okay. So the path ahead will be responsible fishing practices, implementation of eco-labeling and certification schemes, and valorification of the products, and technology upgradation, improving the domestic market, and ensuring quality and safety. Okay, now next slide, please. I would like to tell some of the technologies which CAFT has been working in these areas. Yeah, please, next slide, please. Yeah, when we talk of responsible fishing technologies, we have been talking that trawling is a destructive technology. It has been harming the ecosystem. So we have introduced a lot of new technologies like semi-pelagic trawls. And when I'm talking of non-targeted species, where we are talking of reducing juveniles, all the technologies for reducing bycatch, technologies for reducing juvenile, all technologies are in place. Only problem is implementation. I think the state government should enforce act in order to make it compulsory. And I think I should also suggest incentivizing them. If any fisherman is implementing these technologies, I think he should be incentivized. Otherwise, it's not going to be implemented, because we know they always have an apprehension that when they have new technology, they don't get enough catch. But CAFT has already demonstrated these catches, and many states are already implementing this, like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Goa, Gujarat, and I think other states also should come forward. So we have the technologies for reducing the bycatch and reducing the juveniles. You go to the next one, please. And again, we talked about, shrimp sorting device, juvenile reduction devices. This model won the international prize for WWF. Okay, I think these are all the technologies the state should be promoting. So here, CAFT will be willing to join hands with the Department of Fisheries to ensure that these technologies are going to the field. Okay, next one, please. Again, we talked about the TED. I think Chairman Empada is, we are already working with Chairman Empada. Our TED design has been already introduced, but there are little issues which US department is raising. We are now working in refining this technology, so that will definitely solve the matter. So Chairman Empada will agree with me that CAFT is already handholding them and supporting in introducing this turtle excluding device, which is mandatory for exporting shrimp to the US. Next one, please. Yeah, I think even again, Secretary Saab raised about the deep sea fishing, and as you know, the design of the fishing vessel, a fuel efficient design has been already introduced and it has been approved by the government of India, Department of Fisheries, and now many states are coming forward, and we have collaborated with Cochin Shipyard, and already around 80 vessels are built under our design, so which is a very very success story for CAFT design. So this, I am sure, other states also will emulate. And when you're talking of inland fisheries, we have introduced the solar power boats. I think that is, going to reduce the fuel consumption, and also it will be environmental friendly. So the technologies for craft and the gear are available with CAFT. We are working very closely with the state departments. I'm sure these are all will be the future for conserving our resources and having more efficient fishing systems. Thank you. Next slide, please. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah, when I was talking of the using alternative sources like FRP, using other wooden substitutes, so the technology for boat, especially this will be very useful for other states and also for inland fisheries. Next one, please. Using rubber wood, using coconut wood, we have all the technologies. Next slide, please. Yeah, when I move on to the next one. Technologies for post-harvest and value addition. I think Secretary mentioned about it. So CAFT has been working on developing a lot of technologies, many preservation and packaging technologies. You talk of, upgrading, value addition, whether it is, coated products, whether it is shrimp specialty products, and a lot of, surimi-based products, mince-based products. So the technology is available. Only thing is, I think with the new scheme, with the help of Empada, we'll be able to. I think Empada is already, gave a project to us. We have studied the whole country. What are the lacuna? What are the infrastructure availability required for improving value addition? We have submitted a report to Empada. So I think along with Empada, we'll be implementing this, scheme to improve the value addition. Next slide, please. See, there are a lot of options. These are all the value-added products which we can definitely introduce both in export market as well as in the domestic market. You can see a lot of variation, whether it is skewers, high-value chilled commodities. When you're talking of, ready to cook, ready to eat, ready to fry, ready to serve, many, many products can be done. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Again, we talked about the seaweed. CAFT and CMFRI is working on a lot of products from seaweeds, even from, the nutraceutical products, a lot of nutritional products. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. A lot of addition, value-added products from seaweed, from the fish, from the shrimp. Next slide, please. And CAFT has already commercialized many of these products. And when I told about the convenient products, when we are talking of convenience to the consumers, it has to be either ready to serve, ready to cook, or ready to fry. So we have technology for, which can be stored for 3 years at ambient temperature. It does not require any refrigeration facility. When I'm talking of retortable pouches, I'm talking of cans, okay, extrusion. So a lot of technology options are available. All these, I think, will be implemented through the departmental schemes. Next one, please. And when I spoke about the complete utilization of the catches, using the rest raw material or the fish waste is very, very important. I think CAFT has developed a lot of products, industrial, pharma, nutraceutical products like calcium from fish bone, gelatin, collagen, the PUFA capsules. Move on to the next one, please. And when I am talking of shrimp, shrimp is a major fish industry, right? So the chitin, chitosan, we have already established around 30, 40 industries in the country. This chitin and chitosan, you can develop a lot of pharma and, nutraceutical and other industrial products from the chitin and chitosan. You talk of you are talking of a lot of lifestyle diseases. You're talking of the, your joint pain. The glucosamine hydrochloride, which is going into that as an ingredient, is basically from chitin and from the shrimp shell waste. And even from the scale, you can develop hydroxyapatite. It has got a huge application in dental, periodontics, dental application. And the squalene, which is a wonder drug. Move on to the next one, please. Yeah, surgical sutures from the fish waste, from the gut. Okay, the sanitizers, all these have been already done by this, and we are now working with the medical colleges for clinical trials. So soon these things will be a reality. The industry can adopt them. Few of them already we have commercialized, but many of the other technologies we are working so that the whole waste, whether it is head, skin, the bone, everything can be utilized for high value byproducts. And some of the technologies were already in the market, and some of them will be validating in the field, so which we will be commercializing soon. The next one, please. Yeah, again, machinery. I told about importance of the low-cost machinery for the industry, which we are developing, whether it is the solar dryers, whether it is the scaling machine, the fish vending kiosk, which we are actually popularizing through the CSR of the Cochin shipyard. And now ICACI Foundation has come forward to popularize these technologies. So these are all the technologies, the machinery which CAFT has already validated in the field. So this can be taken to the industry. They are not very expensive. They're all very low cost, very efficient machines, which we have already validated. And especially the drying, for fish drying, the solar dryers, the hybrid dryers with electrical backup, with the biomass backup, they're already very, very popular in the country. And the fish vending kiosk, when we are talking of fish, people immediately say that it is done in a very unhygienic way. So we have introduced a fish, refrigerated enabled fish vending kiosk. Now we are actually integrating the solar power, so that a solar powered fish vending kiosk, which is hygienic, which can be marketed, which can be kept on the, in the market, and even women entrepreneurs, so they can take it up. That's what we are trying to address this. Next slide, please. And again, we talked about the effluent treatment plant. When we are introducing the fish processing, we need to have a eco-friendly effluent treatment plant. And we are already working with NFDB for hygienic markets and hygienic retail outlets. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And again, CAFT has been, we have when I'm talking about the testing of the products, when we want to ensure that give confidence to the consumers that fish is safe to eat. So we have excellent testing facilities, so we can provide that. And capacity building program, CAFT has been doing a lot of training programs, whether it is in the harvest sector or in the post-harvest sector, we can continue to do that. I think we have already given a roadmap to the department. So where we will be hand-holding the department in capacity building at all levels of the value chain. Yeah, and Secretary mentioned about the incubation. CAFT is successfully running a business incubation program in fisheries. We have an excellent pilot plant. We have the office cubicles, and we have already, around 80 entrepreneurs have graduated from our incubation facility, and we have created around 50 brands which are in the market. Okay, so these are all the facility which will help in boosting the fisheries enterprise in the country. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So all the areas, whether it is value addition, whether it is a resource conservation, whether it is reducing the fuel consumption in the fishing industry, and putting certification system, ensuring safety, giving technology of the packaging, processing technology to the industry, whether it is machinery, and also promoting business through incubation program. These are all the areas which CAFT has been successfully working, and we will be happy to join hands with the Department of Fisheries and EPEDA in implementing these technologies to the field. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar. I think you have shared a lot of useful insights with the participants, and CIFT is doing great work. Technologies, the solutions, and capacity building. I think there are plenty of areas where the industry and the communities can work with you. Thank you again.
Happy to join.
Absolutely, we'll be equally happy. Thank you. May I now request Dr. K.K. Vijayan, Director of CIBA, to please address us. Dr. Vijayan.
Very good afternoon, respected Secretary, Sir Rajiv Ranjanji, and CA Rajiv Singhji, and my friend Ravi Shankar, and all our panelists and the listeners. Very good afternoon from Chennai. I think my slide share thing is not appearing here, so I think you can share it from there. Yeah. So this a particular sector of brackish water aquaculture as a driver of blue economy, because this is one sector when we talk about the whole aquaculture sector, which is really the economic engine of the aquaculture. So in this blue economy, when you talk about but this is the sector which made an impact. And considering this 15 minutes time it has been given, I have put the slide in such a way that we can bring it into this sector's importance into perspective. So I will not put the slides in a detail, but definitely to bring it into this.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I will.
So you can see that in the time to come, this is a food, and environment, and these are going to be, and water is most important things, and because the the population is increasing. So food, this is what we are talking about, the most important sector. Next one. And our secretary has really, given a very bird's eye view, a glimpse of the whole sector. So our job is very easy here. What I am trying to tell, when you talk about the food, the conventional sector is agriculture, and when you wanted to produce more from the agriculture sector, in the productivity there is a limitation, and again land availability there is a limitation. So the first thing what you need is a resource for the production of food for our increasing population. But in this perspective, next one, when you look at what is the next resources available, next slide please. Next, this is the next paradigm of where the food production is, that is aquaculture or aquatic system. Look at this Indian subcontinent. We have a very good strength in this area, and I will be looking at only the brackish water sector, but as a whole sector, when you talk about the new program of the our Prime Minister, from the freshwater aquaculture sector, brackish water aquaculture, inland saline, and the marine. So we have these resources in place. This is one of the most important thing when you looking at to increase our production. So we have got these resources in place. And how to so when we wanted to increase the production, the resources in place. Then next part will be how we will address it. Next. And here is the thing in blue economy and blue growth. Nowadays, a lot of talk is going on. I think our secretary made it, flagged it there. In that, all other thing, I think the subsequent sessions will be talking about. But fisheries and aquaculture is the immediate one, and that can play a tangible change or even seeable change in this blue economy. And we are already, that is what I mentioned, even our brackish water, just shrimp export alone, last year, 7 billion, 45,000 crore we earned in the last year. That shows that already we have a window how we can do this, and then we need to bring it up on that. And then one important thing is that when you talk about aquaculture, though we have an aquaculture pond and other things, but it is a seemingly continuous proposition from the ocean to backwater and the environment. And then just before we talked, Ravi Shankar was talking about the value addition. That is the next step of aquaculture. So this one important thing is that you need a holistic thing here, and we need a roadmap to how we all this thing will be connected. Otherwise, we will have the plans, but the delivery, the value chain completion is very important. Next one. Next slide. Yeah, so when you talk about blue economy mission in India's focus, actually, unless we have got a complete, value chain approach, linking all these important components, generally, the delivery side, we may be having a plan. So here in the second one, that is the, sustainable coastal aquaculture development. There comes our brackish water, backwaters, and all things are coming. So I think this, our secretary has got a very in-depth, look at it, and he has already conceived it in a integrated and a complete holistic way. That is a very good sign that because in the past we take it as a blue revolution. We think about the blue revolution production only, but how to reach it? We generally, that roadmap, the road, the driving things, the vehicle, we never used to think about it. And that is the most important thing here. I think that is already been done. Next one. Yeah, so you just see that just blue dimension when you look at it, the right side is the blue economy, but this all other thing is it has to be balanced and it will be contributing it. Otherwise, again, this gap can pull your vehicle back. Next. And why aquaculture now? There is no doubt about that. I think already our secretary said that this is the most important for towards the food security. Similarly, nutritional security. And so, and the growth, aspect, if you see, this is one of the things continuously growing. And then, when you talk about these sectors, most important three things. One is food, next is employment, and then is prosperity of the profit. This is one sector. All the three things can be realized. That is the beauty about it. And the growth is continuous and it's very impressive. Next one. Next slide. Yeah, and you look at the other food production sector. When you say, look at the fish aquaculture sector, all these area, protein retention, energy retention, food conversion ratio, edible meat per 100 kilogram feed. See, the fishes is far ahead. That means it is the sustainable way of, sustainable production sector. So we need to have that engine and the investment and the attention. That is what we are getting under the PMMSY scheme. And I'm very happy that our secretary, he generally understands and talk like a scientist. That is what we wanted. Next one. Next. Yeah, you look at the aquaculture. When aquaculture provides, you look at all these areas: food security, employment, prosperity, that means industrial development, livelihood, women empowerment, export revenue. So if you take from the small marginal farmer, maybe a very ordinary fish retailer, to the larger industry, all thing is becoming a part of this aquaculture. That is the most. That is why this can really make a social change. What we are looking, it's economical change. We can make it. Next one. And why aquaculture in brackish water? This is my area, because you see that in the times to come, in conventional aquaculture, if you take freshwater is competing, it can compete with agriculture. Then there is a drinking, then it's a construction cost. But look at the brackish water resources. It is a zero footprint, economical footprint resources, no competition. So this can be used when this thing is used for the most productive aquaculture like shrimp farming. It is becoming a very economically important sector. And again, this brackish water is not suitable for all these things what we are trying to say. And again, with this footprint, zero economic footprint, we can focus. And the resources is huge. Indian subcontinent, it is already estimated around 1.2 million hectares of brackish water farmable area, and almost some 7 to 8 million inland saline sector. So you see that resources is in place. Next one. And the strength of brackish water aquaculture sector. See, this resource I already mentioned. Then this is a tropical climate. For example, in the temperate region in the west, when they want to make a market size shrimp, you need to have 5-6 months of cultivable area. But here you look at, we can make it in 90 days. Now in a 10 gram shrimp, even 60 days we can take a crop. So we have and again diversity of the thing, and then manpower availability, professional expertise. So see, all these recipe which we need to drive this sector forward, we already have it. Next one. And then any agriculture or animal husbandry or even fisheries, this diversity of the species is important. And this particular slide, when we earlier our secretary was talking, you can see that when you talk about aquaculture, there are 4 important components. One is seed, second is feed, the health, and then the genetical or stock, and then the social thing. So you can see there are very limited species at present now. We have got all this technology. So one is Latus calcari for sea bass we are talking about, and very recently we bred Chanos, and even now the other major species, Mughal red snapper, and these things we are working on it. And below that you can see Atroplus, and then so these if you take even 10 species, we have got complete technology for at present only 2-3 finfishes. And the shrimp, it is another story, because we have got started with Indian tiger shrimp, and the story of the shrimp farming was 90 to almost 94. That was the rice an area. It was only one species. Then the disease came, and then we now looking into only one species farming, that is an exotic species, that is a single species farming, that is Penis vanami. There is a problem. Next one. Yeah, this is you look at these are the species which we have already having the complete technology for this. So I have not put these things into in a detailed slide to save the time, but you can see the tiger shrimp, then the vanami. Now you can also see Penis japonicus and the Indian white shrimp, our own shrimp. That is, it's a native species of shrimp. In 90s, we used to farm that. But in the process of our growth, we have forgot about these native species, and we are having only single species farming. And similarly, only sea bass is there as the finfish. When we talk about the marine cages for 2 lakh tons of increased production, our secretary was mentioning. But we should understand that this trajectory in the finfish production of seed is greatest gap is the seed production, I think juvenile. And now at present, SEBA hatchery, SEBA and RGCA together we produce around 3 million juveniles, and that translated to the total production of with these 2 hatcheries about you can say 2 million each. We produce around 5,000 tons of fish. Then when you target about 2 lakh tons of fish, maybe any marine cages or where this will come. This is the most important factor. I think even when we very enthusiastically talk about this, so this 2 hatchery only, and last 5 years, SEBA has been trying to promote to bring the private sector for the SEBA hatchery, but so far it has not happened. Why? Because the other model, shrimp hatchery, is very easy to do. Within 1 month, the product is ready for sale. It is market demand is there, so they can. Generally, the people say that with 100 million shrimp hatchery, a good business, the next year they can go for the 1 more hatchery. But finfish hatcheries are difficult. And again, another greatest problem is that this brood stock. See, to breed a mother fish, for example, sea bass or a chanos, we have to rear the mother to 4 to 5 years. No private sector will do it. Actually, so we need to be positioned in such a way that so we need to have a brood bank, we need to have a seed bank. Actually, in such a thing, even we need a governmental institutional support till the private sector is matured. For example, sea bass. This is the thing I would like to mention and hear about our own secretary's attention, that this kind of brood bank and even seed bank, we need to bring it with a kind of a PPP mode, like institution like SEBA and state government, and definitely the private sector. So unless we don't do that, it will be he himself mentioned it, single focus species and maybe 1 or 2 species, it will be a risky thing to go ahead. So even though all this plan we are putting into the place, this critical gap, we need to have a realistic plans how to address in a step by step. Because a private entrepreneur, we cannot imagine that he will come and put a hatchery and there 5 years he will wait for the mother fish to grow. So we need to have a backup. In such places, an institution like SEBA, we already having the complete technology. We need to be supported by the funding part by by Government of India, Fisheries Ministry, using all these programs. Then that will be realized. Next one. Yeah, this is what I was telling. This is everybody knows that it's a success story. The shrimp what I shown is an Indian white shrimp, but you see that these 40,000 crore, 45.7 billion. It is a single species export. Next slide. You can see the Penis vanami. Penis vanami is an exotic species. It is an American species. Next slide. So, there was an issue due to the white spot virus issue. At that time, we don't know what to do. And by the time this this Vanamee thing also has been a result of an R&D. That is 90 to 2008, they invested for the R&D in selective breeding. That is why this Vanamee has been genetically improved and stock improvement has been done. Now we import. You see, our import bill, just a pair of male and female, we pay around $150 to $200. So this definitely is the engine of the, it is required. Vanamee we need to promote, we need to have all these things going on, but we need a backup. I think SIBA has taken a initiative, and we have done a national brainstorming. Earlier, we are already submitted the selective breeding of our own species indicus program to the Government of India, Ministry of Fisheries. I hope our present secretary will bring his attention to that. We asked because unless this technology backstopping and investment is there, we need a backup. Something happened to Vanamee. What will happen to the whole, the so-called shrimp industry? So an industry which is bringing 40,000 crore, we are asking about 100 to 200 crore investment, and that should not be in an institution alone like SIBA. It should be in a PPP mode with in a consortium mode. I hope our secretary will definitely remember about this. We are already made a lot of work. We have submitted thing, and it's a high time when we talk about this kind of growth about the investment. All these things are this one backup we need to look at, and institution like SIBA for all technological backup, it is ready and we can contribute. Next one. Next slide. Yeah. So you just see that when you talk about these, the aquaculture is a complete biotechnology. So all this breeding, even the feed, even the health, disease management, stock improvement, and all these things, it's a complete biotechnology. So what's happening is that when aquaculture, these things grows, especially in the value-added farming in the brackish water sector, all these things will happen. That will create a chain of activities for the job for the professionals, fisheries graduates, and then even the R&D. So these are all mutually contributing. Even for the earlier Ravi was talking about the chitin, chitosan, and so this value addition, creation, aquaculture, production, these all things can be bring into an integrated way. So in this institution like SIBA, our real job is to technology backstopping. So we are already there. But what I feel is that this strength has to be clearly brought into a chain to complete this delivery. Next. And this is what the feed, you all know that feed is a major cost in aquaculture. So far, we are depending entirely on the internationally companies, multinationals on this feed, technology. But during the last 5 years, you can see, because we are talking about the increasing or doubling of farmers' income. So when you do that, you should see that how economically we can produce 1 kilogram of shrimp. That means when in that production, how much profit when the farmer gets. Where one of the most important thing is the investment such as the feed area. So institution like SIBA, we have done is that all these aquaculture important species from the broodstock, larvae, grow out. We have developed indigenously developed cost-effective and quality formulated feed. So this give us an advantage of price per kilogram. For example, we have developed a feed for Vanamee, and at an average during the last 10 years, the Vanamee shrimp feed per kilo price was around 75 rupees. So now with this technology, we have able to make a cost-effective feed, something like 60 to 65 rupees, and there is a quality is not been compromised. Now this technology we have now commercialized, and it is a matter of happiness to say that this this model is coming up. And one of our entrepreneur, you take the technology from Andhra Pradesh, he has scaled it up, and his own 100-acre farm is doing, and he's supplying the feed for around this model around 100 acres will have a 1 ton per hour feed mill for about 1 to 2 crore, and they will be able to do that 100-acre. It's a non-exclusive way we will do the technology, so that 100-hectare marketing cost can be saved. The farmer can drive into the the feed mill, and they can get the feed. So this one of the farmer, he got the best enterprise award yesterday. NFDB is declared. I think it's a matter of happiness. He's going to receive the award tomorrow. So this is very important, and you can also see an ornamental feed. In India, we are now talking about lot of promotion of ornamental fish, but there is no indigenous ornamental feed. and there is no a consistent feed available in the market. Now, SIBA has developed an ornamental feed, and we have branded as color fish. So what is happening that, as I said, the seed, when you need the feed, we are already positioned. Only thing is that, again, these investors and the entrepreneurs, and when they're coming together, we need, in some time the investor need money, then the government, we should get the credit. When they need technology, we have to join with us, and then CII, and they can actually mentor them and hold them. So this is the model, what we have seen in our sector, what we needed to have. So the feed, and I mentioned about the seed. Now it is the feed. Next one. Next slide. Yeah, I think our nowadays we have successfully told the story of sector like 40,000 crore and shrimp farming, and we all said, but how we can do it, how we can take it sustainably, do it. This is the most important thing, and these are having so many models from the low cost to the, I have not put the details, but I think when we plan is intensification and doing this sector, taking forward, most important thing is how sustainably we can do it, so that the economical benefit for the farmer, the entrepreneur, industry can get it in a progressive way, and it will sustain. So here mostly we overlook this aspect, and then what happened when the environmental things happens, and other things, the negative portions will come, and that will affect our promotional activity. So I think this sustainable growth of the sector, especially for example the brackish water, it is a sector where the first time intensification has taken place in the shrimp. So you can say shrimp farming, at least in some part of the states such as Andhra, Gujarat, these are all going in a intensified way. But the moment intensification taking place, the disease come. There are some detail, thing about the disease and health management, etc. I have not put it, but the institution like SIBA is being positioned. We are all these drivers of this aquaculture, that is seed, feed, health, and genetics. And we have position, we have got all the technologies with us. Only thing what we need is again to connect it. And I think CII when they can connect this link with the government and the institution. And from our experience, what we have seen that fisheries is a state subject. So mostly the fund will flow to the state. And the institutions and state interaction is not very smooth. Actually, you can say there is a compartmentalization. So I think our secretary should, what our request is that you look at this completion of the chain, like the institution, technology providing institution like SIBA for brackish water, maybe processing for CIFT. Then the private sector and the state. Unless a private player is coming and they are making money, this kind of effort of the late, somewhere the fatigue will set in, will not work. So we the three institutions, that is, one is the government which is facilitating, and second is a technology institution like SIBA, and these farmers and the private sector. It has to come together. I think most of the project what we have to do to take it should be into a PPP mode. That is what we are seeing successful, and this dialogue between us, and then the mutually sharing the strength and weakness. This is also very important. If you see our country, we have got institutions, government institutions, universities, and many other things. But many times these are in fragmentary thing. I think in PMMSY, I hope our secretary has already seen these things, and that is why he is also mentioned about this ICR and fisheries institutions. But I think we should position and where these CII should make a facilitator role. Because unless we have more dialogue and realizing this strength, we cannot take it forward. Next one. Yeah, so this is the last slide, and you can see that our slogan of brackish water itself, our institute is brackish water aquaculture for food, employment, and prosperity. It is not just a slogan. I think when you think about this, all the three can be realized. When all these three sectors, food production, and again side by side employment generation, and the employment generation means in the brackish water and the processing, it is high value, it's a high professional, all kind of employment, just from the labor to the very high level of professional job, it is there. then the prosperity, I have put prosperity because when you put profit, it is not a positive question. So that is why I put prosperity. So I think now we are talking about more and more about the blue economy, blue growth. It is a time that it's the right time this PMMSY and all other scheme has come, and right time we have got a secretary like our Rajiv Jan, he is understanding that depth. Only thing is that again, I feel my request is that, for example, like we have been talking about having a backstop for selective breeding of indicas, and now I am not hearing it for the. So this is very important, and we have to see how means and ways to implement it. And institutions such as SIBA, I can tell you that any technological support for this brackish water sector, whether the breeding, seed production, feed, health and genetics, we are there, and with together we can take this growth trajectory ahead. And I hope CIAE, this activity involving us in here is a very positive thing. We will need to have more interactions, and with the help of the support of the Ministry of the Fisheries, we can realize our dream. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vijayan, for your exhaustive presentations and the insight of the subject. I would request Dr. Nurjan Bibi, Managing Director, TAFCO Fed, Tamil Nadu. Ma'am, are you there? Hello. Dr. Nurjan Bibi? Mr. Armugam is available, or Dr. Nurjan Bibi? Debu? Debu?
Yeah, tell me.
Can you see Dr. Nurjan Bibi?
No, I am not seeing at the panel Dr. Nurjan Bibi.
And Mr. Armugam?
No.
Okay. No. So I think there is some problem. They might have not joined. So therefore, we are going to the next session, and that is a port, shipping and marine services, the backbone for the marine economy. And I would request Dr. K. Srinivas, the chairman of BEDA, to address us. Mr. Srinivas, please.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Tapan Chattopadhyay and Dr. Rajiv Ranjan sir, Secretary, Ministry of Fisheries, Dr. Ravi Shankar, CIFT, and Dr. Vijayan, SIBA, and all other panelists and participants. Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tapanji, you are saying something?
No, your video is not visible.
Oh, the video, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Now it's okay.
Yeah, I don't have any PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
After seeing the very useful presentations by my predecessors, I would like to spend only a little bit of time on the sports, shipping and marine services. That is the topic for my subject. So before coming to that, I just want to say that MPEDA is in charge of the exports promotion. We have almost 46,650 crore rupees of exports in the last year, 2019-20. Around 13 lakh metric tons we have exported, and we are number 4 in the world. And our idea is to enhance these exports to almost 1 lakh crores by 2030. And that is the thing. And we are doing frozen shrimp is our main item, as mentioned by Mr. Vijayan and other people, that we are depending on one single item, that is frozen shrimp. And apart from that, we are also exporting cuttlefish, frozen squid, fish and fish products in chilled, live and dried forms, canned seafood, surimi, etc. And then coming to the markets, USA is the largest importer, followed by China, European Union, Japan, etc. And also, if you look at the quantity wise, then China has emerged as the number one importer from India. So this is the thing, and this introduction about the topic. So coming back to our topic of this ports, because ports, shipping and marine services play a major role in providing the required infrastructure. Because without a port, without shipping means, in my opinion, the fishing harbors. Without the port and the fishing harbors and other services rendered by the customs and other people, then we cannot do any exports. So, as you know, we have major ports, minor ports, ports controlled by the government of India, ports controlled by the state governments, etc. And we have more than about 200 fishing harbors in the country, and around 50 of them are minor ones, and the remaining are minor harbors. And all these major harbors put together, they are contributing almost 50%, 60% of the quantity from India's total exports. So what I want to say is that our ports need a lot of improvement. Our fishing harbors need a lot of improvement. Our vessels need a lot of improvement. And there should be other infrastructure. So I just want to divide my presentation into two. One is the infrastructure area. Other one is the non-infrastructure area. Infrastructure, when it comes to the harbors, of course, we have to improve the harbors, the way the frozen items are handled. We need to improve this. For example, when any container comes to the harbor, the container comes to the port, then there will be again a checking of all these consignments. So they take out the samples, and the container is just exposed to the temperature, outside temperature, and in the process there is a danger of the loss of hygiene, loss of cold chain and all that. So because of that, we have received many complaints from many countries that because when the consignment reaches the importing country, they will definitely look for the temperature controls, temperature, whether it is there properly or there, because it takes almost 15 to almost 1 month time, because any consignment going from India to the USA, it takes almost a month. So then in entire the process, the temperature has to be controlled. So if there is any temperature drop, then there is a danger of the consignment getting rejected by the importing buyer. So that is why we need to install a dedicated sterile temperature examination facilities for the inspection of frozen seafood consignments in all the ports. I understand only people in Gujarat is an exception, and they have set up a lot of such facilities. And similarly, my request is that all other ports, I'm sure there must be some people representing the Indian ports in this seminar. So all those people also should take similar steps the way the Pipavav port has done in Gujarat. Similar things have to be done. And also the second point is in the ports, the customs also they take a lot of steps to ensure that these refiner containers are properly sealed, and they also do examination, etc. So here also, I think we need to improve the infrastructure. We need to install some drive-through X-ray machines and other equipments. Otherwise, what will happen is that again the temperature will come down, and suppose they take 3-4 hours for examining these, because they have to open the container, take some samples, and then send it for testing. And then again, all that thing, it may take 2-3 hours, maybe sometimes more. So in the process, it may lose its freshness, and it may lose its hygiene. So that is why we need to ensure that all our ports need to have these kind of equipments, X-ray machines, and then a separate cargo for the seafood separate things, equipment should be there, infrastructure should be there, so that they will not lose their temperature. So that is the idea. Then coming to the next important thing is our fishing harbors. For fishing harbors, we have, I mean, if you allow me to compare our fishing harbors with our airports, normally what we do is we simply have the water-based infrastructure, water-based things like dredging, etc. Or they may construct a finger jetty or some other civil constructions, and they forget about all the rest of the things. So it is just like constructing an airport with just one runway. You think just having a runway, you think you will be able to run a airport properly? So it's not. Similarly, even the fishing harbor also, simply ensuring dredging, simply ensuring some finger jetties, simply ensuring some platform so that the boats can come, some jetties, and then they can unload the catch. So that is not sufficient. I think we need to do a lot of things. But unfortunately, most of our harbors are in a most of our fishing harbors are in a very dilapidated condition. We need to improve their infrastructure there. We need to have air-conditioned the auction halls. We need to provide facilities. There is something called WIFE, because in every fishing harbor, we need water, we need ice, we need fuel, and we need electricity. So these 4 items are compulsory in any, but unfortunately, most of our fishing harbors do not even have some of these basic requirements. So this is another important activity we need to look into if you want to really reach the target of our exports earning. The third one is the vessels. The boats. Once we know the vessel gets into the water. It ventures into the water, and then maybe it may take 1 week or maybe sometimes 2 weeks to come back. So for all these things, and suppose the boat fellow will go to the maybe 100 kilometers from the shore. They'll catch, and then by the time they come back, it may take 10 days. Then we need proper cold storage facilities in the vessel itself. But unfortunately, most of our vessels do not have such cold chain facilities. We don't even have the surface. Surface is also very wooden. So because of the wooden surface, instead of that, we should have a FRP surface. So these are all the small things. They may look small, but they're all very important, because if you are looking for getting a value for our money, value for the money for our products, we need to improve these type of things. Otherwise, Honorable Secretary has mentioned in his speech that the post-harvest losses are almost 25 to 30%. So we need to reduce this 25 to 30% of post-harvest losses. And one of the important steps that we can take is improving the vessels itself, creating the cold storage facilities in the vessels itself, so that they will be able to handle it properly. And once the catch comes to the shore, to the fishing harbor, how it is handled, how the fish is handled, and whether I've seen in some of the harbors, the big fishes are dragged on the floor. They're dragged on the floor. They brought to the auction place, and then by the time by this, the fish also will lose its texture. They will lose its. There will be a lot of bruises on the body of the fish. So obviously, instead of fetching 10 rupees per kilo, it may fetch only 5 rupees per kilo. So unfortunately, our people are losing heavy money. According to one study, we have conducted a study recently with the E&Y. They say the same fish, when it goes to Sri Lanka, it is fetching maybe 10 rupees per kilo, but the same fish which is coming to nearby Indian harbors, it may be fetching only 3 or 4 rupees only. So we are unnecessarily wasting a lot of money, because instead of getting good income, we are losing this kind of income. So what I feel is that in India, most of the times, we say that the last mile connectivity is a big problem. You be it anything, people talk about last mile connectivity is not there. But in my opinion, as far as fisheries is concerned, the first mile connectivity itself is a big problem. Because first mile, when I mentioned first mile means the boats, the fishing harbors, so these have to be definitely improved. And then unless we do it, that too, in a again, let me take the example of airport and this fishing harbor. In an airport, you know, you ask anybody, the airport manager, he will say how many flights have landed, how many people have traveled, from which place to which place, and every data is available in the computer. But when you go to any fishing harbor, you ask that whoever is managing that harbor, 1, 2, 3 basic questions. How many boats have landed? And what is the catch today? And what is the price at which they have sold? Whether they have gone beyond the EEZ, beyond 200 nautical miles, whether they are within that or within the territorial waters, nothing is available, unfortunately. So these are all the things. So first of all, we don't have data. First of all, we don't have data, proper data. And we don't have the management also. The management of fishing harbors is very, very poor, and we need to improve. We need to concentrate on these issues, and then what we are trying to do is that we are trying to take one model that is in Kochi. Since I am located in Kochi, we have taken the Cochin Harbor, fishing harbor, and then we have conducted a big study, and then we have come out with a DPR, a detailed project report, and we have come out with a project proposal for about 140 crore rupees. So our idea is that let us keep one, at least one major fishing harbor. We'll convert into a role model so that other fishing harbors they can also come and see and then try to take similar steps. And then we wanted to have a special purpose vehicle for its management, because management is a real problem. Because you have seen last 50, 20, 30, 40 years, crores, hundreds of crores of rupees is being spent for improving the fishing harbors. But unfortunately, some infrastructure gets added. After that, there is no maintenance, and again it will go back to square one. Again, after 5 years, they will say another. Again, we need 10, 20 crores, 30 crore rupees for improving. And many times we have seen. Empada used to have one program earlier of improving the infrastructure in the harbor. So we used to give ice plants in many places. So we have given the ice plant, but unfortunately, in some places, ice plant was never opened for the simple reason that there is no electricity in that. So nobody thought about having an electricity. So nobody thought about having water. Nobody thought about having ice there. So these are the things which, unfortunately, the sector was neglected in a big way. So these are the things I think we need to do. We need to have a proper management. We need to have proper data. We need to have some exclusive people to run these fishing harbors. But unfortunately, we don't have. See, some of these harbors are run by the ports, by the Cochin port, by the Chennai port, like that. But unfortunately, these ports, they are not experts in fishing. And then the fishing harbor is not their core competency. So they may give maybe 1%, 2%, or 5% of their time and attention on running days, and then remaining activity is running the port. That is their bread and butter. So that is one of the reasons why these harbors have become neglected over the years. And similarly, other type of harbors are run by the state governments. State governments, I'm very sorry to say, the mandate of the state fisheries department is the welfare of the fishermen. So they are unfortunately not concentrating on the creation of infrastructure and maintenance of infrastructure and management, proper professional management of these bodies. So unfortunately, only in some places, I think some kind of a harbor management committees have come up, and then some of the places they have kept the district collector or the district magistrate as the chairman. But I'm sure I also worked as district magistrate for 5 years. But I don't know how many district managers or district collectors can give time for running the harbor. I don't know. I mean, I'm very skeptical about that. I don't think even in a year, not even 2-3 hours they'll spend on this. So then we can understand how these harbor management committees are being run in the country. So that is why what I'm saying is that we should have a professional body, a professional special purpose vehicles for running this, so that you know, again, let me take the example of airports. You understand 15 years back how was Delhi airport, how was Mumbai airport? They just like bus station. But now we are proud. We are proud that we have a wonderful airport, T3 in Delhi, and our Mumbai airport is one of the best in the world. So that is all happened because of the modernization, because of the professionalization, because of the optimization of all our resources. So similarly, I think the time has come for converting our fishing harbors into modern bodies. So that is what I wanted to say. And then also coming to the non-infrastructure, I mentioned infrastructure problems and the non-infrastructure problems. So one is infrastructure I mentioned. Second is the non-infrastructure. So everybody says we are doing exports and all that, but in my opinion, IUU is a very, very important one. That illegal, unreported, and unregulated. So our regulation is very poor. Again, many people, all our boats are going beyond 200 nautical miles. There's no control over that. And then see, even small things like even my predecessors have mentioned about the diamond mesh and square mesh, and this minimum legal size and the juvenile fishing, etc. And then how to, so these are all big problems. We are celebrating the Fisheries Day tomorrow, but on one hand we are celebrating, but on the other hand we are having just 3-4 days back in Gujarat we found many small seed-like things. No, so they are fishing, they are catching them. They are not allowing. So it is not a sustainable practice. So we need to stop this juvenile fishing, and then for doing that, we need to have at least a square mesh. But we are not able to do even this. Implement the imposition of square mesh code instead of the normally used diamond mesh. So if it's a diamond mesh, no, it becomes like a when it is pulled, it becomes like a proper net. So it won't allow any small fishes to escape through the net. But if it is a square mesh, definitely it will do that. So that the gap will remain same. This has been amply demonstrated, but unfortunately our fishermen don't want to use this square mesh because they fear that the catch will come down. So that is a problem. So I don't know what to do this. So we need to come out with some kind of a scheme to incentivize them, or maybe to compensate them. Maybe if there is a 30% decrease in the catch, then I don't know how to compensate them. So the department has to think about it. So these are the things. And then coming to USA, we are having two main problems. One is the turtle excluding devices. You see, they are saying if Indian fisherman is catching and then catching any of the turtles, then they don't want to import from India. So that is a danger. Already they have already imposed that condition. Then the one more problem which is coming to India is that the marine mammals. So they say if you don't know how many marine mammals are there in the country or in Indian waters, and how many of them are getting killed in a year, and if that killing is within the permissible limits or not, if it is not within the permissible limit, then they are going to ban imports from India to USA. So this is another important threat. So we need to have some kind of studies and all that. So all these things are important issues. And if we don't address them, because we don't have much time, The Dr. Ravi Shankar has mentioned about TEDs. I mean that turtle excluded devices designed by CIFT Kochi. But when the US team came here, they said no, we are not happy with this design. We want much better design. So the talks are going on with the US government, with the NOA and NOAA as to how to improve our design. But once the design is not the problem. Again, once the design is confirmed, once these TEDs are manufactured, then who is going to use again? I mean, nobody is going to use them, and our fishermen are not willing to use them. And again, there is a problem of enforcing these acts or these provisions in the this Marine Fisheries Regulatory Act. So these are all the issues, and we need to concentrate on these issues. Otherwise, is not going to be sustainable. So I don't want to take too much of time. I think I have already spoken 10-15 minutes. So these are the issues I just wanted to flag on the eve of the Fisheries World Fisheries Day tomorrow. And I hope these issues will be looked into, they will be examined, they will be discussed, and then some solutions are found. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srinivas, to address the issues which are related to your core area of operation of export of fishing. So this is very, very important, and as you have desired that definitely there will be somebody from the port. So I would now request Mr. Rajaram Nagarajan, who is a director, Port Services, Calcutta Port Trust, to address us. Mr. Rajaram, please make your speech.
Yes, please. I'm sorry I don't have a video. You can only hear me.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tapan, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this seminar. The main theme that I've been hearing throughout, right from the beginning, deals with fishing and fish industry. Basically, I am from marine port industry. As Mr. Srinivasan has pointed it out, fishing boats are more of a hindrance to me than a source of industry. I don't look at it that way. But being a mariner, I can share a few insights which will probably help in collecting data about fishing harbor, monitoring them, these kind of innovative technologies that have come into existence in the recent past. Before I go any further, I would like to say something about myself, because my observations of development in the marine industry is by my personal experience. I came to Calcutta in 1983, and I joined the Calcutta port as a trainee pilot. We used to stay and work at Sandheads, which is almost at the northern tip of Bay of Bengal, and where the weather used to be very bad most of the year during monsoons, and the safety in the Indian coastal waters was pathetic. We had hardly any Coast Guard presence, hardly any accurate predictions of weather. So whether it is a fishing boat or a ship, whichever vessel is being put out to sea, for them, their safety is of prime importance. I worked there for 10 years, after which I shifted further north towards Sagar Island. Over the years, one good thing I've observed is that our Coast Guard presence has increased dramatically, and there have been their response to emergencies and casualties in terms of sinking of a fishing boat or a ship or anything like that has been very, very prompt. And number two is weather predictions. As you must have recalled, the latest weather calamity we experienced, that is Amphan. These cyclones were predicted with high accuracy. So all the fishermen and all the ships in our coastal waters had a chance to move to safer waters or take evasive action to move away from the danger zone. These are two fantastic developments. And now we have, along with IMD, INCOI is also giving weather predictions regularly, including DG Shipping, who are monitoring movements of vessels, including fishing crafts in our coasts. All of them, whenever there is a cyclone or whenever there is a danger posed out at sea, they jump into action and they give warnings to help fishermen and other people who have put themselves out at sea to move to sheltered waters. And this has become possible because of advancement in technology in terms of satellite-based weather predictions, weather satellites, etc. And these accuracy of these predictions have reached a very, very high level. This is my personal experience over the past 30 years. And one more important problem we have faced is when you are moving in coastal waters, fixing your position with respect to the coast is very, very important. 30 years ago, there was this GPS systems were unheard of. Today, every schoolboy knows about it, and this technology is being used to its fullest. And I do not know whether our fishing industry is making use of this or not. But from the year 2004, new technology came into existence, which is called an AIS. It's called Automatic Identification System. When this is installed on any floating craft, receiving unit in the coast can receive and display it on a map. So you know precisely, and it's a live data, and you know precisely where the craft is, what speed she is doing, which direction she is moving. Now, this has been further enhanced by satellite-based AIS tracking. So vessels which are slightly more further away from the Indian coast can also be tracked and help given to them. And knowing your position itself is not good enough. Along with your position, you should know, if you don't have a map, your latitude, longitude means nothing to you. So producing good coastal charts covering the entire Indian coast is very, very important. We are a little bit lacking in that. Probably NHO is doing some work, but it should be made available freely to the entire fishing community. The shipping community buys it, but it is expensive for the fishing community because they are in small fishing boats, and it is not possible for them to procure high-tech equipment. So this is a very important thing, and under the Make in India scheme, we have urged the government to produce low-cost systems like this, which can be given to our fishing community so that it can be installed. And they can not only use it to navigate deep into the sea, but you can also know how far they are going. Are they staying within their fishing limits? Are they encroaching, going outside the Indian waters? These kind of information can be known to us. And these are the aspects which addresses the safety of the mariner or a fisherman or whatever. Once you identify that a fisherman or somebody is in distress, then you need to have a rescue infrastructure. Nearby to the ports, we seem to have a reasonably good infrastructure, but otherwise our entire coast is not covered by a state-of-the-art rescue infrastructure. This is very much necessary, especially for the fishing community. When they cannot escape bad weather and when they are in distress, today we have Coast Guard which jumps into service, locates them, but you need a floating craft which can go there, which is of high quality, and picks them up and brings them back. We need to put a very high value to life. Otherwise, this development will not happen. In European community, they have state-of-the-art rescue crafts, which go 100 to 150 miles away from the coast in roughest of weathers to pick up people in distress. This is very, very essential in our Indian coast. Unless and until safety is taken care of, our coastal movement of vessels will not develop. And also the quality of the crafts that we are using, they also should be developed. And I think the government should give incentives to make sure that they follow the safety rules. And also, unfortunately, in India, our marine electronics market is absolutely not available. We don't even have a single marine electronics store. We don't produce anything. Now is the time for us to gear up and produce equipment like gyro compass or a VHF or electronic charting systems or electronic softwares, which can be used. We have an extensive market. If it is cheap and accessible, the entire coastal communities can use it. That's just about what I want to say about the safety in the Indian coast. before I go any further, is there any way I can share a small photograph with the audience? Can I be permitted?
Yeah, you can share, but I don't know how to do it.
Anyway, then I'll describe it to you. Calcutta Port implemented an amphibious technology recently. It is a boat with wheels, which has got a landing gear like an aircraft. It can go on water as well as land, and it's a high-speed rescue craft. And we are experimenting with that in Sagar roads. And recently, when a barge sank, this boat went and rescued 2 people from there. These are the kind of innovations and rescue mechanisms which we need to have on our Indian coast, so that our shipping community as well as fishing community can take advantage and grow. And last but not the least, as I said before, I am a portman, and the entire theme of conversation here has been fish and fishing industry. I'm a non-Bengali who has come and settled in Bengal. The only 2 things I know about fish and fishing industry, one is Macher Jol and other is fish patudi. I like both. And on that lighter note, I will leave you. Thank you very much for giving me this time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Nagarajan. We will go to the next session now, which is energy and infrastructure, marine infrastructure. The session chief guest is Dr. Pratima Dahihal, the Director of National Institute of Ocean Technology, NIOT Chennai. Ma'am, please give your presentation.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, everybody. Actually, if you give me the permission to share, I'll do the sharing myself.
Yes, ma'am. I am just providing you sharing, sir. Ma'am, just a minute. Yeah, ma'am, you can share your presentation.
Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So shall I start?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I can be heard. So
yes, you are clear. Absolutely clear. Please carry on.
Yeah. So good evening, everybody, and I thank Indian Chamber of Commerce for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Tapan had been continuously like calling me sort of, and so this is a very good opportunity. The only thing I see is right from the beginning, the talks have been mostly on fish, and just the last one was on ports. So mine's going to be entirely different, and I'll just tell you in brief today how we are using ocean technologies. I mean, we are developing technologies for the ocean for water, energy, and food. So I'm from the National Institute of Ocean Technology. I'm looking after the Energy and Freshwater Group, and I also am the director in charge right now. We have several, for those who don't know about NIOT, we have several facets that we do. We work on deep sea technologies, where we develop technologies. Essentially, anything which is related to the ocean, we develop technologies for the same. Coastal environmental engineering, acoustics, and electronics, and we have a whole gamut of activities. We also have our own 4 vessels. One of them is a DP Class 2 vessel, which is used for all the technology demonstrations. And we also have the Ocean Observation Network, as the earlier speaker was talking about the INCOIS and IMD data. They are our sister institutes. The data from our data boys goes to INCOIS, there further on for INCAS and FOCUS to IMD. So having said that, let me come to the first topic. There are 3 parts which I'll address today: the water, energy, and food. So this is a standard slide that you would have seen many times. The amount of fresh water available in the earth, though we are made of 70% water, is very little, around just 2%. And these are actual pictures from Chennai of last year. This is a city where I live, and this is one of the most water-stressed parts of the country. This needs no emphasis. Primarily, the reason for the water stress are, all of you know this, reduction of per capita availability, severe pollution of rivers and lakes, overexploitation, etc., etc. And also today, we are talking about climate change. So I'm on several committees, and we have been trying to understand all these various facets of water, and largely what as we in the government, we have been doing various efforts towards trying to do several things for the water stress mitigation. And broadly, we can divide the issues of water into three areas: conservation, augmentation, and management. Now, conservation is something that one needs to do. Management is, of course, it goes into the policy and the, all the way up to the municipality level, where management issues are still very high in the metro cities, especially. And then augmentation, of which I will talk today. So the methods of augmentation are basically wastewater treatment. Today, in the domestic sector, many of the gated communities are doing wastewater treatment, and where I live, we actually have started saving 40% of the water by using treated wastewater. Similarly, industrial water treatment has to also be dealt with, and we're talking about zero liquid discharge, etc. today for the industry sludge. 15% of the water requirement comes from industry today, and that really needs to be addressed. However, those are beyond the scope of this talk today. We are talking about ocean technology development, and therefore we can talk about desalination. Mr. Ranjan earlier in the first talk itself had already talked about the large EEZ in the large coastline. So that is the reason, and also that 30% of our population lives along the coast, that desalination becomes important. We also have a very interesting phenomenon for those who are not who are not into ocean-related activities. There is a high temperature difference existing in a tropical country between the surface sea water and deep sea water. The surface waters are warm. As you go deeper, the waters become cold. Now, that having said, so that is the reason to do desalination, and how the ocean can help. I'll show you in a few slides. Next, we also talk about renewable energy. So, if you don't, we don't need to, emphasize that we need to look at clean energy today. Low cost of coal makes it an obvious choice for India, but it is a really contaminating kind of a fuel. And 40% of carbon dioxide emissions are from fossil fuels, and we are also depleting energy under the fossil fuels. So we have a serious need for green and renewable energy, and solar and wind are playing a very, very important role in India today. However, the less looked at kind of energy is ocean energy, which only we are doing here in NIOT, and that clearly requires emphasis from now on. So I'll come back to water. There are several conventional desalination technologies, all of you who are listening would definitely be familiar with the reverse osmosis. The membrane methods and the distillation or thermal methods are the broad classification of desalination technologies. However, membrane systems need imported membranes even today in India. There's brine formation, they're ecologically unsafe, and a lot of skilled manpower are required when you want to make large amounts of water using seawater. That is, when you want to do seawater desalination. So NIOT decided to develop a new technology because of this special graph which I'm showing you. This is the ocean temperature profile, where as you can see, the surface, you can have anything between 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. And as you go lower and lower, at about 1000 degrees, you can even get about 7 to 8 degrees Celsius of water. Now, this was implemented in a place called Kavaratti in the Lakshadweep group of islands. This is a small island about 10,000 in population. And the interesting thing about these islands is they are like mountains in the sea. So you have a very small land mass above waterline, and the rest of it is a mountain. So what happens is the deep water is available extremely close to the shore, and therefore this kind of technology which I will show you is feasible very easily in the Lakshadweep Islands. Now, why we chose this place in the first place? The population is only 10,000. You know, the largest length in the island is about 7 kilometers, and the maximum width is about 3. So there's very, very little footprint in the entire island. Now, the water is actually originally met partially by rainwater and groundwater storage, which just lasts 6 to 8 months. Now, the groundwater is highly polluted because for various reasons. One is the sewage goes directly there. The second thing is these are coral atolls. So the calcium and other minerals makes the groundwater extremely hard and not fit for drinking. The TDS is anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 on a normal day and can get worse. So what is the technology then that we have? I'm not going to show any equations or anything today. I'm just going to explain what we have done. So this is a very simple thing. As you all know that water boils on the gas at 100 degrees Celsius with it, even with the lid open at atmospheric pressure. If you were to pass this water through a container which is kept in vacuum, it can boil even at lower temperatures like 28 degrees Celsius. This vapor which is formed when it is passed through another unit which is called the condenser, where you run cold water, the vapor gets condensed and becomes fresh water. The process, is nearly similar to something like distillation. So this is seemingly very simple, but when we try to do it in the actual ocean, there are a lot of challenges. There are severe environmental conditions. There are still infrastructure is very poor in the country even today. There are additional engineering design issues like corrosion, fouling, environmental loads, and several other aspects. The infrastructure and expertise is really limited in the country. We don't have offshore infrastructure today in our country. So we are really the pioneers, and essentially it has been fully an indigenous and in-house effort to develop this technology. So in 2005, the institute put this plant up in Kavaratti in a record time of less than a year. And this still is and will always remain the first ever plant of this type in the world. And there are configurations that we have put in it which haven't been done elsewhere anywhere, just fully indigenously and in-house developed. This was done in 2005, and even today in 2020, after 15 years, it is still producing fresh water, and it's become the main source of fresh water, drinking water for the population. In fact, from the societal perspective, using the ocean to make fresh water when you're living in a place surrounded completely by seawater, I'm sure this is something which was beyond the imagination of the inhabitants of the island. The islanders are now like completely not only dependent on this, very, very grateful. And the first few comments that we received was that even the tea started tasting better. They had always cooked and drunk only the saline water. So they never even knew what fresh water tastes like and how food and, otherwise what drastic changes a non-salty water can do to the cooking. So this was actually an amazing achievement for us, because for the islanders, it became the main source of drinking water. The health improved considerably. And finally, when we handed it over to them, the local islanders were trained to run and maintain the plant. And unlike RO plants, this is very, very easy to run, very easy to operate and maintain. And that is why it has survived even today. Basically, what we need to look in India, in the Indian context, is when we are doing technology development and commercialization, we have to keep in mind that the operation and maintenance should not need extreme competence and high skills. And this technology succeeded because it is very low in operation and maintenance. Of course, for NIoT, we take pride in this because this is an engineering, which has translated to true societal benefit. And from the drawing board till the actual implementation and commissioning and then running of it, we have been involved. And it's, of course, something that we are proud of. Seeing the success of this, we were asked to put 2 more plants, and they came up in Agati and Minicoy. Today, actually, 6 more island plants are being put up through industry. We also try to scale up, and we have demonstrated a barge-mounted desalination of Chennai in deep waters, because for the mainland, the deep water is not available close by as in these islands. Now, the similar technology can be used whenever there is a temperature difference available to you. So we have also demonstrated in the power plants. Today in India, power plants are still discharging hot water and flouting environmental norms. This hot water with the normal seawater can be used to make fresh water in the same way as we have done in Kavaratti and other islands. And this can reduce the ambient water temperature as it leaves a power plant while making fresh water within the premises. So this is the artistic view of what we did in the offshore plant. And of course, there was a lot of jubilation when we ran this project offshore for several weeks. We are now into scaling up, and we have scaled up the waste heat recovery plant, and we have designed for the Tuticorin thermal power station for 2 million liters per day, and this we are waiting to flow the RFPs. We have also got a design for a large 10 MLD capacity offshore desalination plant with a lot of complicated designs. Now let's come to energy. So since this is focused on ocean energy, and these are the ones that we deal with in NIoT, wave energy, currents, and the ocean thermal energy conversion. So we have been doing a lot of work on wave energy. In fact, we are the only institute in the country which has been doing this and actually demonstrating in the sea. We start with CFD computations. We have done small model studies in places like IIT and Anna University, and then we also do demonstrations offshore. So one of the products that we have now developed is called the wave powered navigational buoy. This normally we have been making most of the navigational buoys are still imported for the ports. There are some Indian players now who have started making them. They use solar panels. This buoy that we have made runs using wave energy. It does not need solar panels. Additionally, it gives the actual observations at the location of the port, like currents and waves and wind. So basically these buoys, they are completely indigenous, and now the technology has been transferred to industry, and we are going to put up more plants shortly. So similarly, we have also made a product called the hydrokinetic turbine using the marine currents. And this on a small scale has been actually demonstrated in Andaman. Now, Andaman wants few of these because Andaman is a security area, and there are a lot of forest outposts which don't have access to clean drinking water and power, So off-grid units like this will be useful in places like that, and we are going to do that once we get sufficient funding. Now, coming back, I will talk about hybridization now. Every desalination system, whatever the method may be, whether it's membranes or thermal, needs energy. And it is high time we move to renewable energy. So one of the things that we have done many years ago is use wave energy to run a reverse osmosis unit. We were generating wave energy in an installed plant there, and instead of wasting the energy, we thought we will run an RO unit. So a small fishing community was using this water for several years. Of course, we have decommissioned this project now because it was done for an R&D purpose. We also have a solar desalination plant that we have done along with DST and an industry. Basically, it uses solar thermal, and then also gets us fresh water using desalination technology, the multi-effect distillation method. Currently, we are doing the self-powered desalination. We would now like to do diesel displacement, and instead of using diesel for the desalination in the islands, we want to use power from the same thermal gradient, and this is called Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion, or OTEC. So we have a laboratory within the campus where we have already demonstrated that this can work, and this is actually generating power and water, and we keep continuously doing our experiments there. This will again be implemented in Kavrati in a separate plant. This has several challenges. It will have the longest cold water pipe till date, and it will have the first ever indigenously designed and fabricated OTEC turbine anywhere. Nobody has done this before. So this also, it is in the RFP stage right now. The other thing in energy is that this is a biology part now. I'll just before I conclude, we are also using microalgae and for sort of creating and making energy. This is a biofuel work that we are doing. We have raceways and everything, as you can see. So Chlorella vulgaris is being used, and we have done a lot of work on production of the lutein and things like that. And this is finally, we have actually demonstrated in a vehicle, a B10 biodiesel, where we used 10% of the biodiesel generated from the microalgal lipid. And this was actually, we ran a vehicle also with this, and we have demonstrated that this can be done. Now we come to the last aspect, which is the food. Of course, I don't have to say all this in this community where the fishing and fisheries is the predominant audience. However, I can say that NIOT is also into this design and development of open sea cages. We have actually developed, because we're a technology institute, we are probably better at doing this. We have developed circular cages where and suitable for the Indian Sea condition with appropriate moorings, where they can act as open sea cages, and these have been working very well. They have been tested in several places. In fact, the self-help groups have been trained in this in places like Olekuda, etc., where they have learnt, and then they have actually harvested sea bass and rabbit fish and the milkfish. All, I mean, this is, we are now making the technology even more sophisticated by trying to implement some electronics where, to avoid cyclones, you can either raise or lower the cages below and above the waterline according to the requirement and make it more automated. The other thing that has been done for enhancement of fisheries is that we have implemented artificial reefs in places like Orissa, and these are actually special shaped objects which are deployed along the coast, and they act as artificial reefs. They attract small fish to which big fish are attracted. So they act like fish aggregating devices, as well as provide a large catch and livelihood for the people. Thank you. And if there are any questions in the chat box, I don't mind answering them. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Ma'am, thank you very much for sharing your insight about the activities, which is a huge area to, in fact, we didn't know really, the audience may not know really. So it's an opportunity to have that glimpses of activities that is doing that, which will definitely take it forward. So in this context, once again, I'm requesting Dr. Nelson Vadasari speak about the marine infrastructure in this program. Over to Nelson, please.
Yeah, thanks, Tapan. Could you give me the permission to share?
Yes, sir, just a minute. I am just giving you permission. Just a minute. Yes, sir. Permission given, sir.
Yeah, I can see that. Thanks. First, I must really thank ICC for giving us the chance to talk about some of the work we do at C6 Energy. And it was really great to hear all the talks till now. And I think being an engineer, it was extremely exciting to see the work which NIOT has been doing, both with deep water technologies going all the way to microalgae. So what I'll just be sharing. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So what I thought what I wanted to talk about was actually moving from deep water technologies to actually technologies involved in using the ocean surface. And mainly from a point of view on agriculture and the associated infrastructure on the sea. Now, when we started working on trying to utilize the ocean surface, the main challenge we were looking at, and I think everyone here has also been looking at a similar theme, was food, feed, and fuel from the sea. We've got such a huge population. We're really looking for more resources with limited land. How do we really go and increase food for our people, feed for all the animals which we rear, and fuel for the energy we use? And being in India, growing in India, the two natural resources we need for this, basically for agriculture, is fresh water and land. If you have fresh water and land, agriculture is possible. But if you look at land, this is a graph showing the per capita land availability in various countries. And even amongst all the countries, India is one of the lowest. And if you really want to scale up access to biomass, what we realized is we can't just be limited to land. And when we look away from land, the opportunity that we saw was actually how can we move to ocean agriculture rather than just limit ourselves to land, use the oceans, farm in the oceans, use seawater instead of fresh water, and use the space available in the sea. And when you think about it, India has a massive coastline with a humongous exclusive economic zone, but we've really not found a way to utilize the ocean surface. We've been using it for fisheries and the like. We've even thought about going and exploring the sea beds. But how can we really use the ocean surface? And that's where ocean agriculture comes in. As a small background into ocean agriculture, many of us know about seaweeds and how they are. But what C6 wanted to do was to actually grow large volumes of seaweed and convert it to a wide variety of products like biofuel, bioplastics, and food products. And the basic formula is very simple. Biomass production, grow large volumes of biomass on the sea. Second, how do we take this biomass and convert it into a wide variety of products? That's biomass conversion. And the last, how do we take this technology and disseminate it among the masses so that seaweed ocean agriculture really becomes something which even the general public knows about. A bit about ocean agriculture is there are various kinds of plants which are grown in the sea. They're called seaweeds. Here we've got three kinds: Capophycus, we've got Euchuma spinosum, Gracilaria. While many of us may not have seen these before, be assured that all of you would have eaten it at least once, probably even today, because some of it even goes into toothpaste. But we just don't know about it. It goes into toothpaste, it goes into ice cream, it goes into a wide variety of foods, but we don't know about it. How is it grown? Here is a small picture of how it's grown off the coast of Zanzibar in Tanzania, where you have this small boat where seaweed is actually being harvested and brought to shore. It's grown in hectares upon hectares in places like Indonesia, and in India, it's also grown in places like Tamil Nadu, in Rameshwaram. I noticed in the previous presentation, Olekuda was mentioned. That's also a place where seaweed is grown, but it's still in a very small scale. And that's really what we want to change. Why so? Because today seaweed cultivation is quite labor intensive. It involves you're literally a lot of people tying seaweeds onto small lines, then taking that seaweed, putting it into the sea, waiting for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then it grows. Now, while it's effective, because there's no input cost really, you don't have to add fertilizer, you don't have to pump fresh water, you don't have to wait for electricity. But at the same time, the amount of seaweed which one person can grow is quite limited. And there's very little engineering which has gone into it. If you like on the right, you can see the kind of rafts which are used to actually grow these seaweeds. They're very fragile and they have to be brought back when the sea is rough. And if somebody forgets to bring those farms on land, then it results in breakage and a huge loss to the farmers. So what as C6 we tried to do was, okay, if this is how seaweed farming is, which is essentially how it was when it started 50 years ago. There's been no change since 50 years till now. What we thought is, can we bring in something new? Can we actually bring it to the level where agriculture is today, rather than start from a baseline of 0? And that's where C6 came along. And what we brought in was a series of technologies where instead of actually tying the seaweed in small bits and bringing it to land, we could do this completely offshore. And by completely offshore, we would actually put the seaweed into tube nets rather than actually tying it on lines and lay it on the sea. Why completely offshore? Because there's a huge amount of labor involved in taking the seaweed from the sea, bringing it to land, doing the operation on land, and then putting it out again. Not only that, when you're completely reliant on land, it limits how far in the sea you can actually go to do these operations. And when you're limited to, say only the first 400, 500 meters in the sea, then really you're limiting the total space available for agriculture on the sea. You're not actually going to see it scale up the way land agriculture has scaled up. And all these technologies, these are beyond the prototype phase. These are actually implemented. And here is a picture of the vessel which we have to actually farm seaweed. This is not right now in India. This is in Indonesia, where we've actually incorporated all these technologies, and we move on top of seaweed farms where we can actually harvest several tons of seaweed in a day, which is unthinkable for a small farm. And what we'd really like to do is, how can we bring technologies like this? We call it the sea combine because it's like the combine harvester on the sea. How can this be available to every farmer so that each farmer can access larger amounts of sea, and second, we can actually move seaweed farming to areas of the sea which are rougher. As it turns out, the seaweed loves rougher waters because when the waters are rougher, the nutrient exchange is much greater, the diffusion layer is much smaller. But when you go into rougher waters, the technology to grow it there is not developed. That you can't expect people to go in tiny boats and do tying of these lines on the sea and coming back, say, off the coast of Chennai or Mumbai, for example. And that's when actually having an engineered vessel, almost the equivalent of a trawler, brought in, which allows people to go and operate in rougher waters and really allow India to, open up to the 1 million tons of seaweed target, which we set ourselves to. Well, that's a huge change from where we are today. And for a radical change, we need radical solutions. The solutions exist. Now, coming forward to infrastructure, as we start moving beyond into the sea, and we're really thinking of producing large volumes of seaweed, what happens to all these seaweeds? So the amazing things about seaweed, it's one raw material giving multiple product streams. So from the same seaweed, you can go into food additives like carrageenan. You can go into animal feed. It goes into shrimp health, fish health products. You can produce organic chemicals like bioplastics. It goes into agri inputs. That's one of our main products, which goes in improving plant yields. I mean, an interesting fact, everybody knows that seaweed captures carbon dioxide, but the amazing part about it is not only does the seaweed capture carbon dioxide, but if you're actually able to take this seaweed and convert it into a plant biostimulant, the amount of carbon it captures by increasing plant yield is an order of magnitude more than the amount of carbon it captured as the plant itself. And last but not least, there's biofuels, which really is the holy grail, we can actually grow large volumes of seaweed on the sea to produce enough biofuel to, remove a limitation from fossil fuel. But there's a catch. Seaweed has been grown for a long time, almost 50 years now. But there's a reason why it hasn't been made to biofuel yet. And that is because of this graph over here. Today, where these red markers come up, that is where the price of seaweed exists. And at this price, the only things that are possible is everything above the seaweed line. We can make specialty food ingredients like carrageenan. We can make pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, nutraceuticals. But if you want to go into renewables and biofuel, sure, you can make some fuel from the seaweeds because the technology exists. But unless the price of the seaweed is lowered to a point where biofuel is possible, it's not going to be accessible to the common man. And that to us was a very important question, because if you look at seaweed, really, there's no inputs. You're not adding fresh water. You're not adding fertilizer. You're just putting a bit of seaweed into the sea. The input cost is very low. But it is accessing and harvesting that seaweed becomes the huge bottleneck in the cost. And what we realized that by bringing in technology interventions to actually do this on a industrial scale, we can actually bring down the cost. Where today the price of seaweed, the export price of seaweed may be about $1,500 a ton, but really we need to bring it down to the level of $100 a ton for something like biofuel being possible. That's a 15-fold reduction. And that's not going to happen by incremental methods. But what we are seeing already is that by bringing in just simple mechanizations into the industry, you can actually increase the volume of seaweed produced, as well as bring down the price of seaweed, which enables all these wonderful products to be produced. Now, when we are talking about biofuel, when we did a simple calculation to say, hey, how much seaweed would we need if we wanted to replace all of India's motor fuel requirements? And it turns out we need an area the size of, say, Punjab in the middle of the sea. Now, if you look at our exclusive economic zone, we do have an area which is that huge. That's the area is not a problem. But accessing that area is, when you're talking about, maybe a 1 hectare or something, that's possible. But when you're talking about an area that huge, we're really thinking about replicating the infrastructure what is there on land into the sea. And how do we minimize the need to continuously come back to land for everything? And how can our base be completely be done offshore? Now, this has been done. Like if you look at oil rigs, there are people who go there and stay for, several weeks to months with supplies coming in. But when we want to scale, cost is very important. So the question was, how can we build offshore infrastructure at a very low cost? And that's when we arrived at what C6 calls the DWEEP, where we developed a simple low-cost technology where we could build large scalable area on the sea, which is literally low cost. And the way was, if you talk about land on the sea, there's a ship. A ship is also the equivalent of land on the sea. But a reason why a ship is so big and so expensive is because it needs to resist the forces of the waves. But what we did is we thought, hey, if we were to make our structure extremely thin, and rather than make it resist the waves, what if it could be flexible and go along with the waves? Then we could also do the same thing just like a ship while being extremely low cost. And by using something called a tensegrity system, we are actually able to achieve that. The equivalent is when you have a huge wind or a cyclone. If you have a strong tree, the tree is going to remain there and survive. But at the same time, a blade of grass, which is super flexible, also survives, and both in the same conditions. And that's what we have achieved by this technology we're talking about. It allows us to build land on the sea at a low cost. So that means we could put solar panels on it and actually generate power. So if you can generate power, you could even use that technology for deep water upwelling, something very similar to what Dr. Punima was talking about. And we could even use that for monitoring stations, because when you have a farm so big, you need power, you need base stations to monitor, and all of this could be possible with the availability of scalable area. So these hexagons which you see can be clubbed together to actually form a large mass in the sea, all completely flexible and moving up and down in the ocean. This is kind of the skeleton on which it works. It uses a combination of ropes and rods, which allows for its flexibility. So it's very stable in 2 dimensions on the surface. But when there's a wave coming up, even up to 6 meters over here, some simulations we've done, even up to 6 meters, the whole structure kind of moves gently up and down with the waves while surviving. And we've even put out a prototype in Tamil Nadu where it's been working fine. And really, that is where we see large-scale ocean agriculture moving towards. And what I'd like to conclude with is just a small video which showcases our vision of how all of our blue economy could come together with seaweed farming, with aquaculture, and weaves all together. And that's what I'll be playing. So if you see my video, you can see that you have sea combines moving on top of seaweed farms, harvesting the seaweeds. And we don't have people observing it. We actually have drones flying all over and sensors monitoring all the parameters on the ocean. Everything could be solar powered, just working on dweeps, and storage could be on these platforms as well. And if you have all this infrastructure, you could add aquaculture systems as well for IMTA, and really paving the way for large-scale precision agriculture on the sea. That's our vision as C6 Energy. It's a really ambitious one, and we need, I'm sure, support from a lot of groups to make it happen. But I definitely think it's very much possible for India. We won a lot of awards along the way, but I'm not going to that. And that's C6, a vision of C6 Energy in a nutshell. And I really hope we can do this and make India a pioneer in the field of the marine bioeconomy.
Thank you, Nelson, for giving a new subject to see. And now we are going for the next session, which is marine biotechnology, sustainability and biodiversity. I would request Dr. V.B. Mathur, the chairman of National Biodiversity Authority. Dr. Mathur is the session chief guest. So I request Dr. Mathur to deliver your speech. Over to Dr. Mathur. Debu, can you see Dr. Mathur?
No, Topanda, I am not seeing him in my panel. Has he joined? I think so.
No, he has been given the link. I have spoken to his office. And
but he is not in the panel.
Okay, so maybe he's somewhere he became busy and could not join. I know. Anyway, then we can go ahead with Dr. Kajal Chakraborty, a senior scientist, organic chemistry from FISHERIES. Dr. Kajal Chakraborty, please.
Good evening. Can I share my presentation or?
Yeah, just a minute. I am just providing you this sharing option. Just a minute.
Before I start, just most respected Secretary, Ministry of Fisheries, and the session chief guest, esteemed panelists and participants, and I myself on behalf of my director, Dr. A. Gopalakrishnan, immensely thank ICC for giving us an opportunity to share our work.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Carry on. Yeah.
Is it? Can you see my presentation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. At the outset, I thank you, Dr. Tapan. With that, let me start because our institute, Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute, coming under the umbrella of ICR. So basically, we do work or arena of work on the marine resources. We do a lot of work on marine natural products as prospective sources of high-value compounds and functional food. We have developed a couple of nutraceuticals and commercialized. It's a very important area to develop marine natural products and nutraceuticals from the marine resources. Now, coming to the ocean or marine organisms, so they have basically developed an adaptive mechanisms to cope with the extremity of the climatic condition in the oceanic environment. And therefore, it is anticipated, and there are a lot of literatures and work that it is having these compounds from the marine organisms have very good activities. And you can see here that in recent times that a number of patents files in this particular area, there is increasing number of patent files around, and number of compounds are also tremendously being increased. Around more than 18,000 compounds have been added per year. Now, very importantly, why marine natural products? Why it is so important that we are already having many drugs from the terrestrial sources? As you can see here in the marine natural product dictionary, around 71% of the molecular entity listed in the dictionary of the marine natural products have novel molecular structure with very high amount of activity as compared to only 40%. Half of those in the dictionary of the natural product encompassing all the terrestrial compounds, terrestrially derived compounds. And also most importantly, as you can see in the second bullet, in the preclinical toxicity studies, we can see the higher incidence of the pharmaceutical potential, 1% in the marine organisms, marine derived compound as compared to 0.1% of the terrestrial organisms. And therefore, it is a very interesting area to develop bioactive molecules from the marine organisms and also many functional food products from these very important resources. So this is a very in brief, what are the organisms, in brief, what are the organisms are there. Like you can see particularly seaweed, because our institute is mandated to work on seaweed. And we do a lot of work on marine macroalgae or seaweeds. You can see that quite a good share of marine organisms are being seaweed constitutes a good amount of resources of all the marine organisms. So now how we proceed to go for the bioprospecting to isolate? Just one or two slides I want to share with you. There may be two approaches. Suppose we can do random sampling, like a random activity analysis. We take the resources and check the activity, or lead-based, mechanism-based, like metabolomic-based approach. Basically, we follow a lead-based or mechanism-based approach. Basically, it is a bottom-up approach, and it saves a lot of time. And this is one of the classic papers published by Uruari, where you can see the Selenospora tropica dedicates a large amount of percentage of genome, around 10% in the natural product assembly. This has been developed by the bottom-up approach, basically by the genomic assembly. So they have predicted this type of compounds may be there, and they could be able to isolate these compounds. Our laboratory also, our institute, we also follow these type of protocols. As you can see, one of our works, and we have developed the metabolomic guided biosynthetic approach. So it has eased our work to isolate important bioactive molecules, very active bioactive molecules with a lesser effort. And basically we do, while screening the activity, we generally do against different activities. As you can see here in brief, I have just given one slide to understand against different, and whatever very active, we go for further purification and concentration and scaling up, because we only look for some compounds which are active and also commercially scalable for pharmaceutical applications. These are some of the compounds under the leadership of our director, Dr. A. Gopalakrishnan. Our institute has developed many health products and nutraceuticals and pharmaceuticals in plants from the marine organisms, as you can see, and most of them are commercialized. And most recent being the commercial Cuddlebean Immunoboost Extract, IBE, which is we have given an expression of interest, and shortly it will be licensed also. So, being so much importance, this particular marine derived bioactive compounds, now you can see that area covered are still very, very meager. Only 2% of the functional food supplements, products for human health, very, very less, particularly in India. We did a study basically in India on that last year, that how much now products have been commercialized. Still a lot of work has to be done, and keeping in mind the activities, minimum activities of the marine bioactive compounds, definitely it can be, the percentage can be increased in many more fold. So coming to seaweeds, one of the major area of our institute, which we work, is an exceptional storehouse of the bioactive natural products in the pharmaceutical and functional food applications. Particularly, Prime Minister Matsya Sampada Yojana, which has been implemented in July 2019, it has been a boon to our work, and we have started working more on this particular aspect. And some of the products, most of the products have been commercialized. I just wanted to refer some of the products which have been commercialized recently against arthritis, type 2 diabetes, and hypertension, have been commercialized to the pharma company recently during the last September this year. And this is also anti-hypercholesterolonic extract, which has also been licensed to a prominent biopharmaceutical company. So these are some of the examples which you have the license. I'm not going much into detail in this. And particularly seaweeds are very important for developing value-added nutraceutical products. I need not to much elaborate. The Honorable Secretary already has briefed this in his introductory lecture. So I just keep this slide, how important this subject is. Now coming to the bioactivity of the seaweeds, we develop different molecules. So these are actually, we develop the library of the molecules. We develop the metabolomic library of the particular compound, and as well as activity, which will important to work further and also to develop synthetic analogs on this particular compound. If you cannot scale up much, so we can develop synthetic. That is so this is some of our work. We have developed Aquaculture and sargassum, some of the red and brown algae, some of the works. Just I want to highlight. So these are some of the synthems which we have developed the metabolomic library of the bioactive compounds. Some of the very important seaweeds for future commercial use or future pharmaceutical purposes, or develop the nutraceutical candidates. So these are just I'll skip some of the slides. So these are some of the compounds coming to 2-pyranoids, derivative cyclic ether from the different seaweeds. Now coming to another area of our work is on molluscal resources, which is very important because in the state of Kerala, and also nowadays our institute actually has developed during 1970s culture of Parna viridis, and Kerala also it has been extended to Karnataka and other regions also. And we could able to develop some of the products. One of the very important products, cadmium green mussel extract against arthritis. If you see in the world's perspective, only one of the products are there called Seaweed, which has been developed by the New Zealand-based healthier companies, which we generally import. But we thought in our coastline is the best resource of Parna viridis, so why not to start with that? So our initial work has given very good result, and we have developed the product by concentrating the particular ingredient, and we did detailed study of this particular product, and also it has been licensed. You can see in this particular slide how important, you see, number of patents will generally tell you how important the technologies are. Over the years, you can see the number of granted patents on these bivalve mollusks on pharmaceutical perspective are on the increasing trend. That clearly tells that is such an important area of work. And so this is this product has been licensed to one of the company based in Kochi. So, and also another important aspect, since it is farmed green mussel, and farmers will also get immensely benefited if this product is being marketed in a wide basis. So this is some of the other mollusk low value products. You can see the clams are also very important molluscal resources. We develop the library of compounds from the particular clam species, Tilapia malabarica and Bilurita cyprinoids. So now coming to another very important area, marine bacteria is one of the very important resources. Unlike other resources also, this marine bacteria we can cultivate in our laboratory. If we can develop a method of cultivation in our laboratory, then our things has been solved. We can develop the compounds in a long-term basis. But most challenging job is that how to cultivate. And that we have developed some of the technologies to cultivate the bacteria and to develop the methods to isolate some of the very important macrolactin group of compounds, which we can in future can replace many antibiotics. So this you can see some of the around 10% of the strains have shown very good activity. Basically, this is from seaweed associated bacteria. And these are some of the activities, some of the furanoterpenoid compounds which we have isolated, and we have scaled up these particular compounds for commercial level. So these are some of the compounds, macrolactin type of compounds. which in future we have compared with the existing antibiotics, and in future we are hoping that it can replace some of the drug resistant bacteria, can work against some drug resistant bacteria. So these are some of the examples. And also we work on hybrid semi-synthetic leaves. Suppose some of the compounds are active and we cannot scale up as such the compound, we can develop hybrid semi-synthetic leaf. Suppose some of the parts, depending upon the structure activity relationship analysis, some of the parts we can identify, okay, this part is very active. So we have modified some of the parts to impart higher activity and we could able to scale up. So currently we are, our laboratory is undergoing this type of work. So it's a promising results are there. So now coming to my penultimate slide, just to what is the future of the marine drug discovery. You can see the William Gravik, one of the pioneering marine natural product chemists, in his 2012 article, he has shown that his rate of discovery from the marine world, around 7 clinically useful and approved drugs from 22,000 molecular entities, such a huge one, which is not possible from other resources. Now, one drug per 3,000 is approximately around 2 to 3-fold better than the industry average, like 1 in 5,000 to 10,000 tested compounds. It is huge, and the potential is enormous on the marine-derived bioactive compounds. Therefore, the area need to be studied in much detail, and more compounds need to be developed. So, with that, I thank ICC for giving us an opportunity. On behalf of our director, Dr. A. Gopalakrishnan, I thank ICC for giving us an opportunity to share our work with you all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chakraborty. Now we are requesting Mr. Manish Shukla, General Manager, Reliance Industries Limited, to give his presentation. Manish. Over to Manish.
So you can hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. So first I would like to thank the ICC, the Ministry of Earth Sciences, for organizing this wonderful conference. And also I would like to thank you for giving Reliance an opportunity to talk about our work in this area. And before I go into the specifics, I would like to tell you that I don't have a PowerPoint presentation and I'll be talking about it. So, I'll just go at a more slower pace so that you get what I'm trying to, get through. So my topic is marine algal cultivation, and it is for fuel, food, and feed materials. As the previous talks have been, it has been on more on the macroalgae, and this is on microalgae. So in terms of microalgae cultivation, there have been various developments in the field, and it's been around spirulina, it's been around chlorella, and most of the development has been, so microalgae again are of two broad categories. One is the blue-green algae and the other is the green algae for us to take it through. And the spirulina cultivation has or if I say the blue-green cultivation has been fairly easier because of various cultivational methods around it and the process around it. However, the green algae cultivation has been a bit tricky, and I'll be talking about it in the detail in the talk further. To scale it up, it has been having several types of challenges, but at the same time, it has to be acclimatized, and there are different issues around it. So that's on the front of trying to make the ground as to what I'm going to talk about. And what I will also talk about is the Reliance's journey in this area of algal technology and the challenges that are there associated with it. So coming to first, as I told you, that we are in the area of microalgae cultivation, and we don't do it in the sea. And in fact, we bring the marine water out into our pond setups or our cultivational setups. We get the sea water, then we use the carbon dioxide for growth, so that the growth is faster. The algae requires carbon dioxide and sunlight. That's it, and of course some amount of nutrients around it. So with that as the base of it, what we have tried to do is that we have built around a sustainable cultivation system. So as again, coming to the Reliance's journey, we started this idea was conceived about 10 to 12 years ago. Then we started working on different ways and the most sustainable way, because what we wanted to first do was make oil. And as you understand, making oil from a biologically cultivated system, it has to be the most sustainable, the most feasible system that has to be present, and that has to be available. So that is why what we did was that we brought in the best practices around. Somebody's microphone is not mute. So when we talk about the cultivation of algae, we are building up the resources around it in terms of first selecting the best cultivational environment. So as you are aware that the whole system is aquatic. We bring in the marine sea water, and then this sea water is cultivated in either an open pond cultivation, or it is cultivated in PBR bags, that is the photo bioreactor bags. And this open pond cultivation is the most feasible in terms of getting the most buck out of the product out of the investments. Tapanji, can you mute, please? Yeah. So when we talk about the cultivation, we are essentially. Tapanji, can you mute your mic? Okay, thank you. So when you talk about the open pond cultivation, what we are essentially trying to do is select a particular microalgae strain, which is going to best survive in the cultivational conditions, and acclimatize it and scale it. Currently, we are doing a cultivation of an area of the tune of 20 acres of land, and we are monitoring various nutrient, abiotic constituents, and try to get the cultivation conditions right, so that we get the most productivity out. So by most productivity, I mean it is the grams of biomass produced per meter square of the area. So once we have that, the next challenge that comes up in this particular area is that of how do you concentrate the algae, which is going to be just a minute. Yeah, so the next challenge is going to be how do you concentrate the algae? As said by the previous speaker, Mr. Nelson, cultivation is one thing, and then collecting, in the case of seaweed, getting it together is another challenge, and there is a lot of engineering and development that goes around it to collect it. Similarly, when you talk about microalgae also grows in a very diluted state. To get it concentrated, there are various processes at scale that we work, and it is filtration, it is coagulation, it is using chemical and physical methods to try to concentrate the biomass so that it is present in such a way that it is concentrated and that can be handled further. So so over the years, we have worked around it to concentrate the biomass to the state where we can further take it ahead for various processes. So when we talk about the utilization of biomass, as has been also talked about by various speakers, either microalgae or macroalgae has a lot of potential, and its potential can be exploited either by simply sourcing the biomass as a product, or what we do is we try to break the biomass, lyse the cells, and isolate the different constituents coming out. One of the constituents which is being very much thought of is in the present scenario where we are going for a more protein conscious society. There is a lot of talk and buzz around alternate proteins. What we are trying to look at is, can we get a sustainable, alternate, and specification wise as good a protein source coming out of this algae compared to the other sources that are available. So in that front, there is a whole lot of downstream efforts that go into it, and keeping in mind the whole costs that go into cultivation, harvesting, and downstream, it is wise to get maximum out of the algae biomass. So that can be done by fractionating sequentially the different constituents. For example, if you start with the biomass, you would like to first get the protein out. You would like to see if you can get the fiber out. You would like to get the oil out. You would like to get the various pigments and the phytonutrients, phytoconstituents out of the algae. So, so once you have these products out, these products, let's say, if we talk about protein, this has to be made ready for the market so that the specifications meet the kind of expectations of the customer that is going to use the protein. So those proteins should not only be sustainable, but they should be nutritious, and they should have all the properties that meet the specifications. Fortunately for algae has the best amino acid constitutions that are available comparative to or better than the other sources like soy protein or whey protein and others. So in that terms, algae protein or the algae protein business has an edge over the other types of sources that are there. In terms of functional properties, algae protein has to do a lot of tweaking, meaning there is a green color that is associated. Not every particular protein manufacturer or user would like to have a green color. So we need to get rid of the green color. There may be a grassy or other kind of taste associated with it. You may want to remove that. So those are the different factors we need to work on. So the whole journey of cultivation to downstream doesn't end there with the product, but then further a product development scheme starts. So this is to give you a purview about our efforts, and as well as a general state of the industry around microalgae cultivation, processing of different products, and availability of it. I'll go in a little bit detail a little bit later, but I'll just like to quickly cover the other products that I'm talking about. Fibers are again a major constituents. If they are isolated well, their purity is nice and they can be met with the criteria. Oils of the algae, there are reports and there have been utilization of oils from algae which are rich in all the sought after fatty acids like PUFA and others, and they are the way to go with that. Pigments, again, there are several companies now who are trying to isolate pigments because they are sustainable. They can be, of course, they are cost-wise and economic-wise, they are a bit on the higher side, but there are a lot of efforts going around it to try to drive down the production costs. And of course, the small molecules. One thing. A factor that was brought about very nicely by the previous speaker, Dr. Kajal, was about the various therapeutic properties of algae. They are rich in that, and that has to be nicely packed either for a phytonutrient application or for a proper pharma application as an isolated molecule. So that has to be looked up, and that has to be further elaborated, and industries and academia can come together and try to work on those lines more elaborately. So coming to the challenges, and the last bit of what I'm going to talk about is cultivation of algae, especially microalgae. I would like to echo what the previous speaker, Mr. Nelson, has also talked about, is at a primitive stage, as what agriculture was maybe 1,000 or maybe 2,000 years ago. But with the availability of technology, with the availability of the maturity of sciences, we will be quickly, overcoming those challenges and get it to the most productive state of the algae cultivation, be it improving photosynthesis, improving the cultivational architecture, the engineering of it, and other aspects. Going further, we are also working on, since we are looking to isolate different purified products out of it, we are looking for trying to work on the downstream, especially how the lysis can happen, how the separation of different constituents can happen, and different products that has to be further taken ahead. This doesn't stop the product challenges, because protein from algae has a particular connotation, especially in the Western world. Algal biomass or algae is considered as pond scum, and with different types of thoughts associated with it. So from that particular perspective, algae has to be built up in terms of the confidence and the acceptability. Fibers and other products have to be made better in terms of the kind of the expectations the customer will have. At the same time, regulatory approvals have to come. Those will only come after we achieve the right amount of scientific and the kind of toxicity and allergenicity and other kind of tests and approvals that come out positive for the protein to be taken ahead. So in or for example the other products. So in this scenario, there are these challenges that we need to address. At the same time, algae cultivation looks very promising in terms of giving sustainable products to society, and we need to really build up the science, the policies, as well as the technology around it, so that it is produced at larger and larger scale and be available to the masses. And with that, I would like to end my talk. Thank you very much once again for the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manish. I mean, we are almost. There is some problem, and yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Manish. We are at the end of the program. So on behalf of ICC, we want to give thanks to all our respected speakers for this program, and all the delegates that have attended this program. Only we have missed in this program Dr. Mathur, because there are some entry problem with Dr. Mathur, and we could not find out in the panelist, but he was there. So we have really missed him into our program. And at the end, I must thank the two sponsors, JFN Fishnet Manufacturer and SM Fish Meal Oil Company, for their support to make this program happen. So thank you all, and thank you very much for your participation. We hope that we will definitely get the support in future. Thank you very much. Good night.